To the extremes of sweet and sour.
We're now streaming on YouTube, and all we can see is your hand there, Adam.
Yeah, we are streaming on YouTube. yes. So definitely looks like Paul's got a nice beer there. Was it a beer?
Yeah.
It's a cider.
Oh, it's a cider. Lovely. Yeah. Yes. Right. So let's just put the thing on it. Oh. Hello to our TV viewers, by the way. And thank you very much for everyone that tuned in last week with Martin's new friend Andy Tasty. That was pretty good.
That's a good show. Really enjoyed it.
It really was, actually. Yeah. So yes, it's guest. I'm not being ignorant. I'm just literally putting the promo tweet up for people to click on the thing.
I take it this bit gets cut, is it?
Well, it's live stream. There's nothing I can do about it. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Let's see now. Six. It was the Lions cover as well, obviously. EFL. League Brentwood and Essex Corinthian. Yep. All up and ready to go. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shut my curtains. My curtains.
Oh, yeah, see, you're trying to overtake me, aren't you?
Say that again?
You're trying to overtake me with the curtains now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I am trying to overtake the curtains.
You're going to doze off in a minute, Adam. It's pitch black.
Switch the light on.
Take your time, son. Take your time.
Yeah.
I think all the YouTube listeners just turned off.
Oh dear. Bit of a tight squeeze in here, but it is what it is. Oh, and we are live. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Grassroots Football Show here on East London Radio. It is Thursday, the 24th of August. How quick this month's gone. We're almost in the autumn already. And almost at Sunday league starting point for Martin. Yeah. Welcome along to the show. We've got a lot to discuss this evening. I'm really happy to be joined once again as co-host by Mr. Martin Brazier, who's I think he wants to unveil his new set. I think you got a new little set, haven't you? Like, what's going on here? Where's the curtains? I'm getting messages. Where's Martin's curtains?
As I explained earlier, all the niece and nephews are downstairs and wait with their parents to pick them up. So
another excuse.
Upstairs again.
Yeah.
And but I said earlier, I found a load of football stuff, all signed stuff. So I might. This could be my football wall. Who knows?
Definitely. I think we're going to do a new feature on the show called Picture of the Week. So could you? Yes. Yeah. So could Martin just tell us his picture of the week? Not the one with Damien in, obviously.
No, the picture of the week, which I found today. I forgot I had it, to be honest. Was some of you listeners and watchers might be too young to know. 1970 World Cup, Brazil versus England, that famous, fantastic save by Gordon Banks from Pelé. I've also got a signed Pelé shirt, which I might get framed and put up. But that's what the photo is. One of my favourite photos. And one of the best saves, in my opinion, of all time.
Yeah, great picture. Ian, do you remember that?
Just about, actually. There was like you could collect coins or something for the World Cup in 1970.
Ian, no disrespect, that could have been 1966 when we won the World Cup. I'm not sure what year it was.
Yeah.
But, that photo just summed it all up for me. Best World Cup I've ever seen. Best team in the world I've ever seen. So yeah.
Martin, I was reading a newspaper article or something similar recently, and there's a lot of people reckon that was England's best ever World Cup performance.
Well,
They lost to Brazil, but they reckon it was one of their greatest ever performances, which is quite interesting. I've never seen the game, but maybe it's worth watching.
I remember it to this day. Sometimes I look at it on YouTube. We contained them well, Brazil being Brazil, and then I think we had a chance right. I don't know if it was Jeff Astor or Fanny Lee had a chance right at the end to equalise, but no, it was a cracking game. It really was. And obviously there's that famous photo of Bobby Moore and Pele cutting each other out of the game. But best team I've ever seen in the world, ever seen. I've seen Santos, team Pele played for live. I think in Aston Villa playing them, I think. But no, it was a great World Cup that was, Paul. I remember it, more or less all the Brazilian games and the England games anyway.
Yes. Okay. Well, joining us this evening is our he's kind of our refereeing correspondent these days. He's making his third appearance on the programme with all things refereeing. It's our referee, or you could say referee correspondent, Mr. Paul Stratton. Good evening, Paul. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thank you, Adam. Yeah, pretty good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And thank you for coming on.
Delighted to be here.
Yeah, because we've got a lot to talk about. As everyone knows, there's been a lot of law changes and a lot of controversial stuff in people's eyes this season, but we will come on to that. Obviously, that's the main bulk of the programme. Just a couple of things I want to discuss before we go on to that, and couple good, couple not so good. And first of all, don't forget, if you do our results of midweek poll, you've got 4 scores to choose from. One of those games we're going to come to in just a minute. But if you want to obviously do that, then the poll is still available, and it shuts at 9 p.m. So yes, so you can pick either. These are the games you can pick. It's either Burnham Ramblers or Hutton's win at Burnham Ramblers, Newby Forest ending Cannon's Wood unbeaten start in Furlong South, Brimsdale's thrashing of St Margaret's last night, and Woodford Town's FA Cup game from last night, which we will come on to in a minute because there's a lot to talk about regarding that. First of all, I'm gonna start on a bit of a sad note. Unfortunately, it was broke literally not about just minutes after we came off air last Thursday night, of the sad news of the sad passing of Dave Forbes Senior from Brentford. Which is Dave Forbes, obviously Brentford manager's dad. Dave is obviously was on our opening show this season, and in the occasions that he's been before, pre-pandemic times, Forbesy came in the studio and Dave Senior came with him on a few occasions, and so he lent his opinions and came on as part of the show as well. And what a lovely man he was, and he's a fantastic man. And our thoughts are with Dave Forbes and his family right now, and everyone at Brentford, because he was, I'm sure you two will agree with the social media reaction, he was a well-loved and well-respected individual.
No, so well said, Adam. Totally agree with that. It was a bit of a shock to everybody, and he will be missed, and as you rightly said, well respected within the football world.
Yeah, lovely man. I don't know if you've been to Brentford, Paul, but Dave was always there. He was brilliant, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, I didn't know Mr. Forbes Senior, but I know Forbes himself. He was managing Brentford when I was refereeing them back in the Olympian. For 6-7 years ago. So obviously very sad for him. Yeah,
and as I say, thoughts go to Dave Forbes and his family, and really, really nice touch as well that all the Brentford sides held a minute's silence for him at the weekend, and also Sungate, who ground share at Brentford, done the same as well. A huge mark of respect, and I'm just going to take a couple of moments silence ourselves for, in memory of Dave Senior. Okay, moving on. And again, Dave, if you need anything, you know where we all are, if you're watching or listening. Okay, well, let's move on to football matters. It has been one heck of a week in the region. The first football match we're going to actually discuss is, obviously, we're only going to briefly discuss matches tonight, but the main match we're going to discuss in depth in a bit, or for a bit, is Woodford versus Bowers and Pitsea. Now, this was an epic FA Cup preliminary round tie. It was Bowers were 2-0 up going into stoppage time in the original match on Saturday at the Len Salmon before Woodford equalised with 2 goals in injury time. The replay last night was one heck of a game. Bowers went 2-0 up quite quickly. Then Woodford came back to lead 3-2 in extra time. Bowers immediately responded with an equaliser. Then Woodford went and won it a few minutes later. Luke Parrott got a hat-trick last night. I mean, Paul, the referees on that game must have had busy nights and busy notebooks, considering sound like all the incidents that were going on. I mean, it was one heck of a cup tie, and we all said it would be as well.
It's a fantastic result. I mean, no one likes extra time, especially me and my legs these days. But and you don't get paid extra for that bit either, right? So, but anyway, move on. It's a fantastic result for Woodford. I don't know. I haven't seen much of. Nothing of Bowers this year, right? It's early season, but for any senior league side to beat, a side from a league above is a fantastic result. To do it, as you mentioned, in the way they had to be 2 down in injury time in the first tie, is fantastic result for them. And they've got a decent draw. Home tie in next round as well, right? So they've given themselves every chance of getting another scalp.
Definitely, and the fact that, and they've done it twice as well, because don't forget they knocked Hertford out from step 4 in the previous round. So they've got Felixstowe will be quaking in their boots a little bit because they'll be worried now.
Yeah, also, I think the crowd as well. I think there'll be a massive crowd, a big crowd if you like. Turning up for that one from both teams. So that'll be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just a game that swung from one way to another, didn't it? It was just unbelievable.
I put it on Twitter. I don't know if anyone else did, but and these goals were coming in, the water were coming back. I'm thinking, what? And you keep looking at your phone and on Twitter and that, and it was unbelievable. I mean, to win a game like that, I'm sure we've all been it. It must be, you're over the moon, as they say in football. But obviously, the away side, the disappointment, reflection on it, probably sitting in the changing room, all very quiet in the changing room, where Woodford is obviously a bit louder. And fantastic. Shame the cameras weren't there. So,
I'd be interested in, just from a perspective of what the playing surface is like at Woodford. Adam, as you know, just because Bowers play on a 3G. And obviously there are away games in the Isthmian, and mostly, especially last year, we're playing on some very good surfaces, right? There's some good pitches in that Isthmian Prem, for example. So it could have been a good leveler yesterday to come to play at Woodford, in particular if the ground isn't, at sort of top stand. I don't know what it's like. So that could have been a good leveler as well. And likewise for people like Felixstowe next round. Felixstowe play on an absolute carpet, right? So again, that could give them a real chance. I mean, maybe they'll let the grass grow a bit longer, and they'll get people chucking discuses and javelins onto the pitch just to rough it up a little bit. But I mean, it's something they can really make it a real fortress at home.
Yeah, that's a good point, Paul. That's a very good, valid point. That is, playing
that is brilliant. Well done to Woodford. Absolutely brilliant. And there's obviously the other team in the teams in the region. There was some. Most of them, I think, have gone out. One thing I will say is, though, and I'll bring up the highlights of that in a minute. Credit to West Essex. That was a great result in the first game to go to Malden, which are a very good Isthmian outfit. And Paul, they've got FA Cup pedigree, reaching the first round in recent seasons, beating Leyton Orient, of course, in their own backyard. So a great result that for West Essex to go there, considering all that pedigree and how the strength of step 4 as well.
I think the other things I mentioned is Malden and Tiptree, with respect to them, have really dropped down the pecking order a little bit. Right, they were struggling last year, and have not had an auspicious start to the season, really. So yeah, they were there for the taking, really. I think West Essex can be disappointed with that, but nonetheless, yeah, they've had a great go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll bring you up.
Sorry, Adam. Could you correct me if I'm wrong? Was that Peter Taylor, the ex-England manager?
Yes.
He got the sack, didn't he, last week?
He got the sack on Sunday. Yeah.
Well, this week, yeah.
Which is very, very surprising. Here we go. Now we've got highlights from that replay, courtesy of Ashley Hanson. So thank you very much to Ashley for that. So I'm just going to, so we're going to hand over to our commentator, Mr. Martin Brazier. He's going to try and commentate on this.
I hope it's live. Last week I just had photo.
Yeah. So Paul Walken, we'll probably look at the referee's performance, but here we go. Right, here we go.
Here we go now. Obviously, West Essex versus Malden. Probably in about.
West Essex in the white, Malden in the Crystal Palace colours. Yeah. For those on YouTube.
Little flick on there. It's clean through, is it? No, gone a little bit wide. Cuts inside.
Oh, that's
first time shot. Sometimes, you take one touch, 3 touch. This time, first time strike in the corner.
No, it wasn't. That was to me. I think that was an own goal. If you look at it closely,
I must get new glasses on then.
Right. If you look at it,
look there. It's there.
Yeah, it comes off the number 5.
Oh, yeah.
That's no cheat.
Adam, well spotted, mate. Yeah, I didn't see that.
I think he was in the wrong place at the wrong time there, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, it happens, isn't it? It happens. Malden on the attack again. Number 9, cutting inside, going on the outside, getting closer to goal. Strike, good spot. No, that is a good strike.
Yeah.
Right, 1-on-1 with the defender. Really turned him in and out a little bit. And across the keeper.
High fives all round, by look at it.
Yeah. And no, that's a great strike, number 9.
Yeah.
Can go through it, get to different player going through. Left foot this time, into the net, doesn't matter how they go in. I felt the keeper patch should have put them down a little bit earlier from no keeper. But they look well in control there.
Definitely. So your views on that, Paul? That was definitely an own goal. You would have given that as an own goal, wouldn't you?
Well, I haven't got to give it as an own goal. It's just gone in, right? But yeah, it's definitely an OG. Yeah, 100%.
To be honest, Ed, we don't do own goals. We give the goal to the last person who touched the ball, because I don't want to embarrass the opposition. Blah blah blah. Put it all over the internet. So that's what we do.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's what we
do. Fair enough. But yeah, well done to West Essex. It was a great achievement just to get there and do that in the first place. Let's just have a look at the draw that will affect locally. Well done to Holbridge. They're through. They beat Step 4 Waltham Abbey by 3-1. I saw Waltham Abbey's Twitter. They weren't happy about it. And they will now face a very good time. This is going to be intriguing. They're at home to Kettering Town of the Southern Premier Central, who were relegated from the National League North last season. So this is going to be a very interesting one for Holbridge.
Well, Kettering Town, I mean, that's a name from the past, that is, isn't it? I remember Paul
Conference,
Paul Gascoigne managing them at one time.
They haven't dished out the fixtures yet, the appointments for the FA Cup, because it's 2nd of September, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I've looked at the fixtures, and that's one of the games I'd like to get.
That'll be really, really, really good. Well done to FC Romania. They beat Colney Heath by 5-2. Really strong start to them this season. They're now at home to Needham Market in the next round. That'll be good for them. And the other team from our part of the world that are definitely are through in the FA Cup are Sawbridge Worth Town, and they will make a trip to Brightlingsea Regents. Brett Mignard's Brightlingsea from Ispia North. Brightlingsea, who beat, let's be honest, from what we saw, made light work of Stansted on Saturday. We've got highlights from that game as well. for Ashley Hansen. So it's time to hand over to Mr. Martin Brazier Motson.
I've got my fur coat.
Sheepskin, Mark. Yeah, your sheepskin. Where's your sheepskin?
Yeah, sheepskin, I meant to say, yeah.
So hang on, bear with me. So for the audio listeners, here is the highlights from Brightling Sea versus Stansted. Well, here we go. Oh,
got a bit all quick for me.
Yeah.
Great, fantastic turn there by the attacker. Really good turn, number 7. Getting closer towards the penalty area. 84 out to the left. All inside the middle. Comes across. Great header. That's a great header. He really leaps well. It's very hard ball to defend that. But, 1-0. A really good header. Good link up play as well.
So they look like got a good surface there.
Yeah. Here comes a corner across. Pleased with that one. Bad marking, bad marking. And hate to see goals conceded like that, especially from the corner when you think when the opposition sort of gets up there. Once again, on the attack, left hand side, going down there 1-on-1 with the defender. Drags it back, puts his head up. Another little dig out. Nice 1-2 there. 1-2, yeah. Another good goal, you know that. Good goal here. Really is. And winning good goal. Very good goal. And,
that one.
Yeah, another header with Nick. Yeah, set play. Possibly needs working on for Sandy, but worthy winners. Worthy winners, so well done.
And here we go. The last goal.
Really well. They're linking up really well with you in the old days called 1-2, 1-2. And,
7 and 9 linked up well there.
These two players
what a goal!
What a strike! What a strike! Nothing like people would take that.
I'll be honest with you, Paul, that was good link up play there between the 7 and the 9, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's good play. Good side.
Sometimes you got to hold your hands up and say you're just beaten by the better side, you know.
Definitely. Well done to Brightling Sea on that. Commiserations to Stansted. As a result, it's Brightling Sea versus Salisburyworth in the next round of this of the FA Cup. So, Woodford Town against Felixstowe as well. So, do we fancy any of our sides to progress after that draw?
Why not? Why not? They're on a high. Woodford on a high. As Paul said, the grass could be different to what the opposing team are playing on. Could be a big crowd there. Big crowd. And listen, everyone loves the FA Cup. Everyone loves it. And doesn't matter what round it is, there are always going to be shocks. So hopefully Woodford can do it.
Yeah, of all the sides there, I'd say Woodford have got the best chance. I think Coalbridge, everyone's got a chance, right? Of course, I think likelihoods caring were too strong for them. But I mean, that's the FA Cup, right? That's what it's about. You get the opportunity to fight against teams that are on paper superior to you, and you give them a bloody nose. So who knows? They could easily take them. But yeah, I fancy Woodford. I do actually. Maybe we'll come on next show and they'll in the next round.
Definitely. Definitely. Paul, you was officiating an FA Cup game on Saturday. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I had I was at East Thurrock against Barton Rovers, who are in the Southern Div 1, so 2-step 4 sides. They drew 1-1, and East Thurrock lost the replay last night 3-2. I think they'll be absolutely gutted because the game on Saturday was absolutely one-way traffic, and I'm not lying to say really that East Thurrock could have scored 5. Well, 1-0 down until the 89th minute, and thanks to me, they got a free kick and they scored it. So, but I mean, in all seriousness, they just spurned a lot of chances, but also Barton had players just chucking themselves in front of the ball. There was 2 goal line clearances, and numerous just really solid chances that Thurrock on another day would have expected to take, and they came away with a 1-1 draw. I was talking to the manager after the game, and they felt a real missed opportunity and were pretty annoyed. That's go on Wednesday night over to Bedfordshire. And as it turned out, they were 2-1 up at one point, but then lost 3-2. And they'll be pretty frustrated by that because I think they had a great chance to get through. They should have won the game Saturday, in summary.
Yeah, obviously you refereed the first game. Do you referee the replay?
No, that's never the case. You're never given the replay.
Oh, right, okay. It's interesting.
Very interesting.
And the FA Cup final, the old days, they used to do the same ref, didn't they? Anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So there's some brilliant games, and well done to all teams who were involved. Fantastic, absolutely brilliant. So obviously not much action in the Essex Senior League as well. Obviously, Thurland South has seen some action. There was well done, a couple of notable results. Well done to Hoddesdon, 6-2 win at North West London. Also in the Third Island South, we had Newbury Forest ending Cannons Wood's unbeaten start, winning 4-3 at Parkside last night. So well done to them. And as we mentioned, Brimsdown beat St Mags 5-0. The game at Tower Hamlets on Saturday, my former club, was postponed due to, it sounds like the Geese had a bit of a dodgy curry the night before.
I'll be honest with you, obviously, again, it's only on Twitter what I see. And I'm not criticising, I wasn't there, so Paul, please don't think I'm criticising the referee. But
okay. But you're going to. Yeah, okay, fine.
Anyway,
yeah.
Oh, but sure, I mean, I wasn't there, so, with the pictures we saw, and 22 players or 22 people picking up all the goose poo.
I'm looking up on Twitter now. Sorry, I didn't know this story, so I'm looking it up.
Yeah.
Go on Tower Hamlets' Twitter page.
Don't know why the game wasn't played. I just don't get it. I'm on the outside looking in. The pictures that come up on Twitter.
Ask Paul. He's a referee. He might be able to give us a very valid answer that people might not have thought of.
No disrespect. On a Sunday morning, we played in dog's poo, and it'd be unbelievable.
Very nice to say about Haynor, is it?
Well, and Haynor, yeah.
I'm looking at a video on Twitter. I'm struggling to see what the issue is.
Yeah. I just thought it was a bit harsh.
I don't see anything from the pictures. They've got a bit of geese excrement here and there. Okay.
Tower Hamlets were fuming, Adam, weren't they?
Absolutely
fuming. Who are they playing against? Sorry.
Hoddesdon, yeah, that's a trek for them. They come their way down, and then they've been told the game's off. Jeez,
it's the second week running as well, Paul, because obviously they went to Southend Manor the week before, and their game was called off at 5-3.
Was it before?
Because Southend Manor's pitch wasn't ready.
Oh, blimey, that's absolutely. Yeah, God. Okay, not great. I mean, if you want me to give you an opinion on that, I mean, without being controversial, I think the assessment of the pitch is obviously normally based on whether it's waterlogged or whatever, or frozen, not whether it's got something from country, something from the country on it. I mean, it's odd. It's a bit of an odd one. I've got to be honest. I can't see why you would call that off, particularly when something like that can easily be washed away, right? End of the day, even delay kick off if you need to, and go, you know what, we'll get some water on it or something, and just dilute it or something. I think if both teams, if it's a health matter, I get it, but unless the ref was a vet or something and knows something I don't. But it's a bit of a strange one, to be honest. But maybe
it's a strange one.
It is a strange one. Okay, and obviously the game of the weekend was a fantastic game of football on Friday night between May and Baker and Clapton in the Community. This was played at Aveley. Ashley Hanson was there. And this is the highlights from this game. Now, Paul, I'll let you commentate on this one. Because Martin, typical Martin, he's a bit behind, like he always is.
My video is lagging, so maybe Martin's better placed because I'm not really seeing it very well.
Yeah, so here we go.
Tell me.
Well, shall I start that again? Yeah.
Yes, please, mate. I'm the FC.
May Baker in the red caps and in the rainbow coat.
Ball down to about 1 touch, 2 touches now. In the penalty area, played it wide, and the guy just knocked it in.
Loving the crowd.
Simple but effective,
Yeah.
Full back flexion. We go again, left hand side. Bearing no one, not tight enough, not tight enough. Full back or the wingers going over that. He'll lay the ball down. Those are going to go with his own. This is a nice little back heel. Still 1-on-1. The number 11 comes suddenly into the middle. I'll tell you what, it's the same play. Well, I'll defend it. Get stuck in there.
Who was the team in the purple? Sorry.
Clapson Community.
The kit, like that.
Yeah, actually, 8 games. We go Western Six now.
The Man Baker.
Sorry, that big one, Man Baker, sorry. Side, good first touch on forward, inside the penalty area, and back in that made too quick. Yeah, back in the game. Back in the game. Okay. Back to the left hand side, 1-on-1 with the keeper, where the ball back's gone. That's an easy goal to concede. Fans are really pleased, obviously, and referee going over to them there, Paul, you know, he's to say, come on, boy.
Look at the size of it, I wouldn't mess with him.
Pardon?
Look at the size of him.
Yeah, you wouldn't argue, would you? Ball coming across. Good touch. They're not tight enough, Three players around.
It's gone out like that.
Three players out line, full coming back. Keep my opinion leading.
You know what? It does still feel weird that seeing the Vanarama board to 8. It really does.
Oh.
The Vanarama National League boards.
Oh, okay, yeah, of course, yeah. We go Man Baker, might get a little bit in trouble now he's got himself out of it, left foot, forward, plays it through to the 11, little touch of the ball to his left foot back, no, still with his right, great ball action, great run and a great ball, steps in that side of 6 goals.
I wouldn't let him wear that undershirt, that guy there. One colours.
Ball back to the zone, goes across, all between good play, all back in there. They're happy with that, all happy. And that's a yellow card, isn't it? There we go. Turn it about, plenty of time, no pressure on the ball. Man Baker.
Obviously a mistake there in there somewhere. Yeah.
There we go. 1-on-1 with the centre half. Oh, off it go down. Great finish. Come on with the keeper. Use a bit of pace. It's over 10 yards. Oh, back in the net.
Friday night 8-goal thriller then in that one. Man
Tell you
Baker
what,
3
it's
Clapson
cracking-
CFC5.
Cracking football going on at the moment. It really is. It really is. I just hope it continues.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely, I agree. Okay, well, that's wraps up the action more or less for this week. Did you have a game on Sunday? Not Ian, Martin?
Well, funny you should say that. Yes, we had a game.
Oh, God, here we go.
Here we go. And well, we're obviously Deadden Sports first team on Sunday. Reserves think they should be the first team. Right, they give us a lot of verbal, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we played them in the friendly. Deadden first team versus Deadden Reserves. Beat them 5-2. It could have been 8-2. And fully deserved. So hopefully we can keep them quiet for a season. They're not bad lads, but sometimes they get off their perch, won't they? Get off their perch. But we start our season. No game this week. Bank holiday, as you know. We don't like game matches at bank holiday for a simple reason. Excuse me. There's too many players away on holiday, you know, with the families. So look, this is the last weekend, boys, before the season starts on the 3rd of September. So we don't have a game, but we're still enjoying the victory from last Sunday, 5-2.
Definitely. And one other result, I will say, Harold Wood, they lost 4-3 to Toby on Saturday.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
How can you lose to a Carvery, Ian? That's terrible.
That's spooky. I was in a Toby on Saturday night.
There you go. Sure, it's his
There you
fault.
go.
It's your fault then. We'll blame you.
Yeah, my fault.
Yeah, and you've got Rayleigh Town away on Saturday, which will be a tough one because their one's going for promotion.
Adam, can I just bring in about the London Senior Cup I noticed today?
Yes, Scott.
Yeah, there's some fantastic draws gone through. So, and I think the next draw. I'll say it again. The next draw, Wimbledon, AFC Wimbledon are playing. I forgot who the team is now. I can't see it on my phone.
Great name, guy. I forgot who. Yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah, find it for us, mate. You've got Cock Foster's first team versus Charlton under 23s. You've also got Barking first team versus Leyton Orient FC first team. Whether they play the first team or not, I don't know. But
that's interesting, isn't it? Because the Essex Senior Cup, they segregate it like the FA Cup, right? So you only bring certain levels in at certain rounds. So London just do it open.
Yeah, they do it open, yeah. Sorry, Ed, I found it now. I do apologise. Sporting Bengal United first team, AFC Wimbledon first team.
Wow.
Perhaps the lady from East London Radio.
We'll send that Kaz down to do a match report.
Yeah, that'd be good. But honestly, there's some really good draws there. And when I saw that one, the Sporting Bengal versus Wimbledon and Barking versus Leyton Orient, I thought, wow, crackers. So I looked into it more. Keep an eye on that. Actually, I really keep an eye on that on the London.
And where did you see those, Mark?
I got it on Cockfosters FC Twitter account. They just put up the draw.
Okay.
And also it was on Sporting Bengal Twitter account. Put up about the draw against AC Wimbledon. And what a draw! What a draw! I can't. What a day it's going to be, or night it's going to be for them. And I mean, we're talking about Woodford. They've got Metropolitan Police away, and I'm just trying to look right down here now. That affect our teams really.
Yeah, just have a see if there's anyone else. Athletic Newham are away to Haringey Borough.
That's it. Yeah.
So yeah, that's another interesting local one. That's all it is in the London Senior Cup so far.
Also, you've got, I know it's not in our remit, but you've got AFC Croydon, who've just been bought by Stormzy, is that correct?
Yep.
And who's the ex-Crystal Palace player? That'd be interesting. They're playing Hilltop FC. I'm not sure who they are, to be quite honest. But,
Hilltop from north, somewhere in North London, I think they are.
As I say, I'm going to keep my eye on that because there's some cracking draws there, really are. And, when Sporting Bengal put that on Twitter, I thought, I remember that, and just mention it basically.
Definitely. And also the draw has also been done for the London Senior Trophy, which affects sides at step 6 and step 7 of our neck of the woods. So hang on a minute, I will tell you what the draw is for that part of the world. It is, hang on a minute, no, go away. I'm not interested. It's so basically Hilltop Reserves versus Hackney Wick, FC Baresi versus Sporting Hackney, Bryden Ropes versus Northwest London, Parkview versus Meridian VP, Redbridge's Reserves against Jollof Sports, Peckham Town versus Clapton, Shappers Bush versus Athletic Newham under 23s, and Sporting Bengal versus Cockfosters Reserves. So that will be interesting. The Essex Senior Cup draw was conducted last Thursday or Friday as well. This is the round 1 draw. It's Harlow Town versus Burnham Ramblers, so all a Thurlow and South tie there. Buckhurst Hill against Holland, Newby Forest against Dunmow Town, White Ensign versus Harwich and Parkston, Stansted versus Athletic Newham, May and Baker versus Takeley, Benfleet versus Holbridge, Saffron Walden versus Tilbury, Hutton against Basildon Town, Barkingside against Stanway Pegasus, Frenford versus Barking, Romford versus Great Wakering, Halstead against West Essex, Wivenhoe versus Ilford, and FC Clapton versus Coggeshall Town, Stanway Rovers against Cannons Wood, Clapton in the Community against Little Oakley, and Southend Manor have a bye into round 2.
Good draws there.
Definitely. Southend Manor, as I said, they've got a bye, but they'll be away to the winners of Halstead or West Essex. So interesting ones, ties there. Right, now it's time to go on to the real reason we're here tonight, is to talk about all things refereeing, all these new laws and everything like that. Now, I'm not going to quote the club or the player, club, player, management, league, etc., but I was reliably informed earlier this week that someone got in touch with me and said that I'm glad you're doing a referees the laws thing, because our management haven't told us anything, or our club haven't told us anything about the new laws, and we're only going by what we see on the telly. I'm not being funny, and don't take this the wrong way, Paul, but that sums modern football up. So can you please give us an insight about what's different this year and what's changed and everything, please?
Sure. I mean, there's a couple of, just to clarify, there's no real law changes this year. There's been some clarifications in law about two things, really, about time added on, which has to be more accurate, effectively, which is effectively taking consideration of goal celebrations specifically. And the other law change is about offside, about recognition of a deliberate play, which isn't, we're not going to get into that tonight, but that everything else is more not a law change, it's more of a guidance for the participants and the players and the management. And when you say people aren't aware of it, it should have been publicised and passed down by the clubs, because it's been pretty much all sent out. But anyway, yeah, where do I start? I mean, there's a couple of things. There's a couple of key areas. One is participant behaviour has been, that's what the FA have called it.
Oh, could you explain that, please?
Yeah, that's the first piece. And funny enough, I remember talking with you, Martin, last time I was on.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah.
About the body cams. And I know at the time, I was obviously in the middle of a season, I was getting incredibly frustrated by player behaviour. And I said to you about body cams were a really good weapon against that, because it felt like as a referee you were, although you're allowed to deal with stuff obviously in the laws of the game, the explicit expectation in the game was that you just take a bit of stick and deal with it. So the clarification we've had this year, and it applies equally at step 6, step 7 as it does to the Premier League, has been that player behaviour needs to be managed better. Right, so the expectation is on the referee now, where they see something not being done properly, not being followed properly, to deal with it in a stronger manner. And the way that's specifically given to us as an expectation was around the crowding of a referee. Right, so the first thing they've said is the expectation is if we get more than one player approach us in an aggressive manner, effectively, then one of those players, if there's 2 players or more, one of those players gets caution. Irrespective of context or anything else, it's a case if you get approached by 2 players in an aggressive manner, effectively one of them gets a caution.
But there's a simple answer to stop that. I know football is emotional and what have you. I'm trying to go back now, 2009, I think I was coaching at Barnet, and they had a rule there where only the captain could go up and speak to the referee during the game. Yeah,
but let's also clarify this, because this happened in the Man United game on Saturday, when they got destroyed by the Spurs. Right, was a glory day that it was. I think Bruno Fernandes got done by the referee and a lot of people went up in arms about that, claiming that he's the captain. Why can't he talk to the referee? The captain has no special treatment. He has no special treatment. He has no additional authority. The only thing that he is expected per Law 5, whatever it's called, is that he is to some extent responsible for the behaviour of his team or her team, right? But they don't have any special treatment. So they can't just start shouting at you and go, oh, I've got the captain's armband on. So that's just to clarify, you didn't say that, but to clarify that the captain doesn't get any special consideration, right? But they are expected to be the mouthpiece, to want a better description, for their team, right? And therefore the captain should be the one that comes and talks to you, but they've got to do it in a positive manner, right? In a controlled way, exactly. Look, the game's got out of hand. I mean, let's be honest. We're all adults. I can deal with a bit of stick, and quite frankly, I still get a bit of stick, and I had a little bit on Saturday. It was nothing untoward. However, I'm not going to start dishing the cards out if someone questions what I've done. I get the game, but like I said to you last year, I think the context has been lost a lot in football,
Yeah.
where you'll make a decision that has no real consequence anywhere, right? It'll be a throw-in on the halfway line. It's always a classic example. And because of the match situation or because of players being unable to control their emotions, they'll all give you a bit of stick over it. And it's just doesn't make any sense to me. And therefore, I think it's right that it's being dealt with.
Okay.
I don't think it's the biggest thing they've changed, but I think it's absolutely right they're trying to deal with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. But you just said there that a few players will give you stick over a throw-in or free kick or what have you. So, am I correct in what you just said earlier? You can put one of those players or all?
No, because they aren't surrounding you, right? That's a dissent question. That's more of a general dissent behaviour.
Okay.
We are being asked to look at that behaviour in general, of course, because there's too many referees that have got this. I used to hear it a lot in pre-match speeches by referees. It used to be about, I've got a high tolerance level, and high tolerance is not a good thing,
No, sure.
right? There's an element of a low tolerance is a bad thing, of course, but there's also a middle ground where you have to sit.
Yeah.
But like I say, I think that we all understand, we're all human, that if I make a mistake and a player gets upset by it, I'm probably more tolerant of that than if they're giving me stick over something that's just completely inconsequential. So I'll accept if I've given a penalty and it's the last minute of the game that maybe there'll be more emotion in that than there would on the throwing in the corner in the first minute. So it's a bit of a different thing, and that's why we need to get the nuances. But anyway, look, we get that. The instruction is, just to clarify, that if you're being surrounded, and they call surrounded now 2 or more players, right? Then ultimately, but again, I think they haven't necessarily stipulated it, but I think the point is that if you've got 2 or more players surrounding you and they're just approaching you and asking you a question, go, ref, what's going on, blah, blah. I don't think they want you to dish a caution out there, right? I think they're saying it's going to be approaching you with aggressive intent, effectively.
Yeah.
So that's the first one we've been asked to deal with.
Right, Paul, what is aggressive intent, please? No, because, it could be running up to the ref and pushing him. It could be verbally.
Well, that's actually assault, but okay.
No, what I'm saying, but you can run up to the ref and stop. That's what I meant.
Why would you run up to the ref? What's going to happen?
Well, listen, we've all played football. We've all got, I keep saying the word emotional. It's played on instinct. And, what's going on? Whatever you're going to say. What did you see there, ref? Ref, what did you see?
Fine.
And,
that's okay.
Yeah, but some refs now might go, sorry, mate, yellow.
Maybe.
We don't know.
They shouldn't be doing that. I mean, again, it's hard to say, right?
No,
but
it is. Yeah, it is.
Look, we were sent a few videos for training before the season started, and it was clear in most of those that the referee was being approached by 4, 5, 6 players and being surrounded. Particularly, it's quite common on like bad tackles, right? Like a player will be absolutely poleaxed, right? And it's a clear red card, or it's a clear second yellow, whatever it will be. And what you end up getting is 3 or 4 or 5 players around you in the rather pointless attempt to influence your decision, right? Which may sometimes happen, but we're all adults at this level. We're not stupid. And they'll all start getting involved for no reason. And you've got to let the referee do his job, right? And that's what it's trying to prevent. It's trying to prevent effectively intimidation of referees.
Yeah. But going back to the discussion we had last season, was it? So I can't remember now. Last year,
Last year, yeah.
We said about the body cams. And I think I got that wrong because I'm not sure whether you did, because we were talking about them coming in, and I thought it was going to start just filming the whole 90 minutes. But when I was speaking to a couple of local referees, in fact, what it is that if they feel threatened, it then goes on.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't know that either, but I mean,
I
fine.
I honestly didn't know. Well, I think that's great. No problem with that. It goes on, and it recalls 30 seconds from when you switch it on before.
Must be always on when you're doing your game. Mine. I'm a Debton. Based on what you're telling me.
So we're getting a bad reputation. It's not true.
No, I mean, in all seriousness, it's I think that makes sense, right? You wouldn't record 90 minutes.
That's what it was, and I've got no problem with that. I've got no problem with that. It goes to say you switch it on, it goes back from 30 seconds before you switched it on, and films obviously whatever happens, and then it all calms down. You play on, and it goes off. No problem with that. No problem. That's obviously grassroots football. No problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I think that what it's empowered. I mean, ignoring the body cam piece, but what the instruction from the FA has empowered, and you're seeing it at Premier League already. It's just empowered referees to go, there's a tolerance level, and it's not as high as it used to be. It's now here, and ultimately, if you're going to start, I mean, you saw, and I watched a lot of Spurs games. Obviously, you saw in the first Spurs game away at Brentford, James Maddison got cautioned for dissent. And all he did was effectively start having to go at the referee because the referee had booked another Spurs player for a foul tackle.
Right, I remember it,
But if you watch the way that he asked the question, it wasn't, what was that for, ref? Or bloody hell, ref, what's that about? He effectively started, I don't know if he's pointing his finger or whatever, but he's having a go at the referee. And it's like, well, you haven't got to do that, mate, to be honest. And I'm a Spurs fan. I don't want my players getting booked, right? But I was pleased to see it.
But that's the culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the culture of it all.
We can't hide behind that, though. We can't say it's just the culture. Let's all accept it, right? I think the point is that
I'm not hiding, honestly. I'm not.
No, I get it. No, of course,
honestly.
of course. But the problem is that you've got players at Premier League level have got a bit of emotional intelligence, and they know it's their livelihood. When you filter that down to Sunday morning park football, they're chilling the ref, running around with a knife, and whatever else they're doing. But that ultimately is what is happening. Now, I'm not saying that issuing cautions for dissent will solve that, but the culture has to change from the top, from in any walk of life, right? So that's the example that has to be set.
Can I just come in with saying as well, as well, one thing that they're clamping down with dissent as well is when someone does a foul on a player or there's an incident and the players go up to the referee going like that, like signal for card. Now, I watched a game at the weekend. What?
The Arsenal game, is it the Arsenal game?
No, it wasn't actually. I was watching the game on Saturday. It was Plymouth versus Southampton. That of all games and all teams that don't even go there. It was just a Saturday lunchtime game. Plymouth striker Ryan Hardy was through, and he personally, I think he was clipped by Southampton keeper Gavin Bazunu. Definitely, in my opinion, a penalty. Ex-Pompey keeper as well. Now, Hardy got booked for simulation, but two Southampton players approached the referee and went like that for cards. Not one of them got booked. And that's one thing that's supposed. Paul's smiling because it's consistency, isn't it? This is the thing.
Exactly the same thing we spoke about the Arsenal right back against Palace on whatever night it was.
Monday
night, wasn't it? It was partly, wasn't it? Incident.
I mean, I don't watch Arsenal football by deliberately because otherwise I put my foot through the TV anyway. But no, I didn't watch the game. But I didn't see the Southampton incident. Adams, I can't comment on that. They should be cautions, right? I mean, if I could ask you a question and say, were those players on a yellow already? Right, because maybe the referee's gone, I don't want to send someone off for that, and that's an element of there shouldn't. People will say, look, that shouldn't happen, just by the laws of the game. But there's also a common sense approach that says sometimes you want to avoid going down to 10 or 9 players on something as pointless as that.
I do feel though. I do feel though. But speaking, you said mine was said about the Palace Arsenal game. Personally, if you look at the build-up from that penalty, there was a foul in the build-up. So maybe that should, because that was first foul, maybe Palace should have got a free kick instead of a penalty.
The Arsenal penalty, no, there wasn't a foul there.
It was Party on Schlepp.
I love these sort of things. We're going to digress slightly, but this sort of thing is great, right? So your players being held, that's the allegation of players being held, and yet somebody falls forward. Like laws of physics don't suddenly apply. We get this all the time in football, right? For players being held, he doesn't fall forward, does he? He falls the other way because he's being pulled back, right? It's a really strange behaviour. I get that contacts and stuff can still be a foul, but a lot of the time players exaggerate something because there's a bit of touchy in football. I get that. So I think we should just look at that and say, let's look at where the movement of the player is.
What you just said there, he can be pulled back. Right, just say it's not going to happen. I'm through on goal, and someone's trying to pull me back. I'm still trying to go forward. So if he lets my jersey go, I'm going to go forward and down, aren't Perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. But I've had players be having their shirt pulled and they've like, oh, gone flying forward.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like, well,
yeah,
come on.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get that.
Paul,
No,
from a referee's point of view, I'm going to ask you about another incident as well. And I want your opinion on this, from a referee's perspective. The incident the previous Monday, Manchester United against Wolves, when I personally think Wolves were denied a clear penalty. VAR, the referee and VAR didn't award it. Wolves got loads of apologies because even John Moss, who's in charge of it, said it should have been given. Your perspective, you've obviously seen it.
I watched the game live. I, at the time, just when, even live, I said, that's a penalty. Right. So watch it on the replay. It's just blatant. The problem, I mean, goalkeepers get a little bit of protection, they get away with a few things. Right. But it's just a foul. I mean, look, my opinion doesn't really matter because you've had an apology from the FA, right, or from the PGMOL, and that clearly says to you that everyone knows it was a penalty.
And I think the three officials or the VAR all got dropped for the next game, didn't they?
It's just bizarre how, I've got to be honest. I mean, I've always had the opinion with most things VAR related, and we'll come back to law change in a second, but the thing with VAR in particular, I've always had the opinion that, look, if two professional referees come to the same conclusion, they've probably got it right. Women's World Cup final, I didn't think that was a handball that England were given against them, but the referee and the VAR both decided in the end it was handball, right? So fine. And you think, well, they know what they're doing. They're both professionals and they've got it right. So then that logic, the Man United game, the Wolves non-decision, you've got the referee saying no and you've got VAR saying no. But the thing we don't hear is what the conversation is.
We should.
Because that is the missing context of this, right? Because VAR will not overturn a referee's decision based on what the referee tells them. But on the pure sort of visual evidence, that's an absolute stonewall. And it was disappointing the referee didn't get it in real time, but it's even worse that it didn't get picked up on video. Yeah. But there you go. I mean, that's them's the breaks, I suppose. So that's where it goes. The other, I think for everyone that's listening or whatever, and you guys as well, the other big change that you've seen and what's going to really change football a little bit now has been about what we'd call delaying the restart. Right. So
what does that mean, delaying the restart? So
what you've seen a lot already, classic in football, right, is you saw Tomiyasu booked for it in the Arsenal game from the throw-in. It manifests itself in a couple of ways normally in football. It did do, which was players just kicking the ball away just lightly.
Yeah, well done.
Right. Walking off with a ball from a throw-in or walking off with a ball some other way, or going to take a throw, stopping, giving it to a teammate who then, like in Tomiyasu's case, then gives it to him, who took them 30 seconds for a throw-in, and a goalkeeper taking excessive time taking a goal kick and that sort of stuff.
I mean, some people do take a mick,
Now, typically what we've done over the years, and this was always my specific process to this, was always to be, look, I don't want to be doing anyone a card for taking too long, taking a throw-in or a goal kick or a free kick or whatever they're doing. I just had the time on because it's the same impact. But we were giving very clear instructions this year, as you've seen at the Premier League and down, which is that you give people a warning. If they're going to take the mick, then basically you do it. You stick a card up their nose. And I have to say, I looked at my statistics. I gave one caution last year for delaying the restart, and I did about 35 games. I didn't do a complete season, but I gave three. I gave three of these on Saturday.
Did you?
Yeah. So in my first game, I beat my entire season. Yeah. Last year, and the reason for that is that the instructions are very, very clear, which is
as a referee, you
leave the ball alone. Leave the ball alone. However, it's ingrained in players, and it was quite funny actually at the on the game on Saturday, where even the captain of the away side, who got two of these cautions, was shouting at his players after the second one, going, "You all know this, right?" You know, and he was shouting at them because they haven't really delayed anything. I gave a free kick in the penalty area, the other way, whatever, defensive free kick, and the player just kicked the ball away about 5 yards. He hasn't really done anything. But the symbolism of it is that you are just trying to delay the restart of the football match, and ultimately we're clamping down there.
Everybody does.
So I think you're going to see that more evidence this year than anything else, right? And then to come on to that, the next thing that we've been giving clear instructions on is to is to effectively add the right amount of time. Now, we're not expecting to see players that are going to suddenly go to games are going to suddenly go to sort of 12, 13, 14 minutes like you're seeing in the Premier League, right? Because that's a bit weird. However, you are going to start seeing things like goal celebrations. The typical thing we used to do was just add 30 seconds for a goal, add 30 seconds for a sub, and typically, you typically see 1 or 2 minutes in the first half and 3 or 4 minutes in the second half, right? That's just been the generic way that you manage football match. Now you're effectively going to see a lot more accuracy on that side. The other way around, the thing that's really changed as well, you should see this at senior league level and Isthmian football this year, is historically we've always been instructed to, when we're dealing with a caution with a player, is to get the player in, do the whole rigmarole of what they're being cautioned for, take their name, and then show them the card, right? That's always been the process. Adam, you've seen this a lot, right? Is the whole sort of ceremony of a caution. Now, what's been obvious for a couple of years, and I've always questioned this on referees meetings in the past, has been that's counterproductive because that's slowing the game down, right? So actually sometimes the caution can take 30 seconds, which is just pointless. So the instruction this year, and rightly so, has been basically just identify the players being cautioned and show them the card. You haven't even really got to bother with the whole ceremony around it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So they're trying to make, that doesn't necessarily happen on Sunday mornings, Martin, so you shouldn't necessarily see it at Devon, because obviously the player name is more important there.
Yeah, of course.
Right, because it could be some random bloke you pulled in for the morning, right? He's someone's uncle or something. But at the more organised football on a Saturday, you've got team sheets, you've got all of that sort of stuff. You can identify players. So actually, we're also being instructions now to issue the cautions quicker in a more authentic manner, which is really, really good, because that is also then speeding the game up.
Yeah. But what sometimes happens, I'm not talking about professional football, is sometimes the referee will give a yellow card and the player's not even looking at him. And he just wanders off. And I think, does he know he's just got a yellow card?
Yeah, that's an interesting piece. It's an interesting segue, though, isn't it? Because that was always, for me, been quite a disrespectful thing. Right? Players walking off and you're trying to show them a card, and we're still expected to make sure we identify. If I have that, particularly if I'm getting close and the players annoyed me and they're actually, I'm showing them a yellow and it's just all getting a bit aggro and they do that, that's disrespectful.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'd probably go and make a point of showing them the yellow. But yeah, that's the player needs to know they've been cautioned, right? That's the other thing.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously you can't just run off and you just randomly wave a yellow going, that's number 6.
No,
he hasn't got to know.
Yeah, I'll probably say it a bit, but I've seen it before where you've had a chat with, the ref and the player. The player's just walked off and boom, yellow. So whether perhaps the referee might have said you're getting a yellow and he just wandered off, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, typically just to approach that though, what you would probably do rather than pissing about ultimately, is you just get a yellow card out your pocket and start talking to the player, right? Because he knows then you've got the card out. So therefore you haven't necessarily got to show him you're cautioning him. He's already decided off and you've given it, then you've chucked it up in the air. But the point is that it's meant to be quick. The player's meant to know. It's meant to be obvious to everyone who's watching who's being cautioned. But ultimately, however you administer it from that point is pretty much should be straightforward.
But sometimes, Paul, and I'm pretty sure it's happened to you. You've called a player over, right? And he might walk slowly, or he might make out he can't hear you, or he backs off. He doesn't come towards you. You have to call him again, or does the ref then walk up to the player? It's a very
well, that's what I'm saying. We're trying to avoid that whole delaying of the whole procedure. Is just it's a pointless sort of charade, isn't it? Where I'm not going to come to you, you're not going to come to me. I've got to make sure I tell you you're being cautioned. I've got to check your name. I've got to write in the book. I've got to show you a card. That whole thing now is.
Well, you've got to put. Surely, I mean, you obviously.
You can do it from 30 yards away.
No. What I'm saying is, say the number 7 gets booked. Well, write in your card. Number 7, yellow. And when you get back, when you get back in the changing rooms, number 7, Paul Smith. That's him. That's who got the yellow card.
It's always him. Yeah.
You work like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit difficult because I know most of the players.
Yeah.
Obviously there's new players here and there, right? Of course there are, but I know most of the players at this level. So it's a bit different for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, you're meant to know. But don't forget also, there is a point where the club are obligated to tell you who the player is. So if you get any disputes, you go, look, I did your 7. What's his name? Obviously, we're not there to administer whether you've got a ringer or not, right? I mean, ultimately, that you'll get found out eventually.
You'll get one at your level, would you?
Well, I mean, you get illegible players, don't you, all the time, right? You know, but we're not there to be the arbiter of whether someone's registered or not.
A few seasons ago, we had a really good ref actually on a Sunday morning, and our player was giving him a bit of verbal. So he sent him to the sin bin. On the way to the sin bin, he gave him more verbal. Right, yellow. On the touchline, more verbal. Right, red. Okay. Yeah. So after the game, I hope no one else is listening to this. I'm going back a little while. The referee came over to me after the game and said, "Do you want me to send that? Sorry, do you want me to send in the sending off of your player?"
Oh, okay.
You're talking about Sunday morning, okay? Well, that makes a difference. And I said, you know what I said? Please send it in. Please send it in. I said, you're getting on my nerves. He went, okay. And he got a 3-match ban and £45 fine. You know, and I'm talking about this is Sunday morning, not obviously your level. But,
well, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, that shouldn't happen, that conversation, but fine. And I know it does.
I said it. I mean, it's a bar. I think the guys stopped refereeing now. And the team.
Yes.
Okay. I'm making that bit up. But,
I know. It's fine. I won't tell anyone, right?
No, that's all right. No, but what I'm saying is, I could have easily said, "Oh yeah, thanks, mate." You know, but I thought, no, mate, he's getting on my nerves. You know.
But why? I mean, I'm always interested in the psychology of that. Is why would you do that as a player? Why would you keep giving the ref stick? I mean, what's he going to do?
Frustration.
Yeah, no, but take it out on him. Have a chat him in the bar after the game, right? That's fine. Do that. Take your frustration out on him then. It's no good. Yeah, it's just rubbish to.
What happened in 30 seconds before he got sent to the sin bin, there was a through ball, right? The keeper or the defenders come out and beat into it. He's then turned around to our players, their striker, and started having a moan. And that's where it led from. So his own mistake led into being sent off, 3-match ban, £45 fine. You know? So I mean, it wouldn't happen. We won't happen again.
I don't want to do like links and causes and stuff too much, but I mean, I got assaulted on a Sunday morning game 10 years ago.
Did you?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm always interested in players that are frustrated and trying to placate them and trying to find excuses for why people are upset. And I just don't get it. If you're I mean, obviously you can get frustrated during the game and that's fine. If you're in a bad state of mind, just don't play football.
Yeah.
You know, and it's up to, I think, teammates and stuff to really recognise that, because I think player behaviour can be frustrating in the slightest, right? You know, and I had someone try to take my head off in a game because I showed him a red card. Now I was able somehow to avoid that, but you know, it's not a nice experience.
No.
And I think you're not a million miles away from that if someone's giving you stick on the sideline and getting sent off.
Sometimes they're worse.
Sometimes people are just suddenly going to blow a fuse. And I think we just need to, again, that comes back to the original point, is about player behaviour. It needs to be managed and the culture needs to shift downwards. And it's going to take a few years. But the whole point is just relax. It's a game of football.
But I don't know how to explain this, but I think I've said this before on the show and probably to you as well. But I've said it tonight as well. But no, football's an emotional game. Okay, you get frustrated. You know, you're on a high, you're on a low. You've got every emotion going. Now, somebody said to, I'm just going to give you an example. If someone, we all said to a particular player in our team, do not do this, do not do that. These are the consequences. This is what's going to happen. Okay, you're going to get banned 3 months, £200 fine. You'll be banned from football. You'll be kicked out of our club for a start. But it's all about instinct. It all happens, boom. You go for a ball and, you know, perhaps you thought it might have been a foul and the ref says, play on, ref. And that's perhaps how it starts. Does it make sense what I'm saying? I'm not sure. What I'm trying to say.
It makes sense what you're saying. I don't agree with you, but I mean, that's all part of the debate, right? I
do not want you to agree with me. Honestly, I do not want you to agree with me, honestly. Just whatever you think. But my view is that no matter what you say to a player, right, what happens in a particular game, okay, and I keep saying it, emotions, frustration, whatever it may be, in that split 5-10 seconds, okay, it also not goes off, but then obviously there could be some trouble, right? So to me, they're not listening, are they? They're not listening what everyone's saying to you. Do not get involved. Play your game, just play your football, you know. And I've said this before, whether referees had a good or bad game, I will always shake his head. I'll always shake their hand after the game, always.
I think that, I mean, just on a balance of fairness as well, Martin, sometimes referees make things worse themselves.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing worse than arrogance. You know, it's a very fine line between arrogance and confidence sometimes, but there's a real frustration with arrogant refereeing, clearly. And that does happen, particularly as you go down the levels, right? I'm pretty sure. I observe at Supply League, and I've watched a lot of football at Step 6, Step 7 as well. And yeah, at times refereeing performances can be very frustrating, right? But unfortunately, that's the nature of the level of football you're at. It effectively matches the quality of the football, right? The referees get better as you go up.
Yeah, of
you know, the guys do National League and do League 1, League 2 are there because they're better than the guys doing my level, right? I'm not as good as them, and that's the way it is. And ultimately, when you come down to park football, you're getting guys that either just want to do it for a few quid or just want a bit of exercise. And ultimately,
I'll get that because
but the quality can be variable, and they can sometimes make things worse themselves. There's nothing worse than an argumentative referee. Ultimately,
well, a quick story, but excuse me. You know, and I'm actually going back about 10 years, you know, there was one particular referee, and it weren't in the last couple of leagues I was in, you know, you turn up and go, I'm just going to give you an example, we've got Paul
again.
Yeah, Paul.
We've got Paul again, bloody hell. I used to get that on a Sunday morning,
my God. Right, but we know, soon the whistle goes, he's looking for a yellow card. When can I give you a yellow card? When can I give you a yellow card? Yeah. It was well known. Nothing, boys. We've got, you know, Mr. Smith today. You know what's going to happen. Yeah, don't worry, Mark. We're fine. Don't worry about it. In 5 minutes, boom, you're the car thinking. You know what I mean? I'm going back a long time. It probably doesn't happen now, but you know, I as an ex-player, you know, grassroots, what have you, and obviously as a coach now, I'll probably get more frustrated now on the touchline with myself.
I think, yeah, and I get that. And actually, a lot of the time for us, it's the managers and the benches that probably causes the most aggro.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, that leads on to the third big change we've been asked to do, which is to deal with the benches as well, right? The technical areas and stuff.
I mean, I don't know about where you referee, Paul, but obviously the Premier League now, you can only have the first team coach in the 6-yard technical area, whereas the assistant manager, I don't know what you want to call them these days, assistant coach cannot now get off that bench and go and stand next to him. Yeah,
I don't think that's applicable to us. It's still effectively two standing from our perspective. So we haven't got a one-person restriction. Not I've been told that anyway, so I'm getting it wrong already, but which is more than possible, of course.
I only saw Eddie Howe Newcastle because they were teasing him about his assistant, which I can't think of his name now.
It's actually quite a funny thing, actually, because I was watching, I don't know if you ever watched this stuff on ITV4 or something, the big match replay.
I love it.
Right, so they show these classic games from the 60s, 70s, 80s. I know it's a long time ago and back in the day, they used to have like one sub on the bench, didn't they? But the manager never left the dugout.
Yeah, that's right.
They never left it, right? Yeah. So this whole standing, giving instructions to your team is a new thing, really, for a lot of people. And I don't remember football I used to watch it in the 80s, clearly, but I don't remember necessarily paying attention to it. Apart from also the other thing I noticed was the linos on the other side of the pitch as well sometimes, right? Someone's put the assistant referee on the left wing, which is always quite funny. But anyway, this whole technical area giving instructions thing is a new thing in football in the last 20 years. Right? So
big advantage, and it's not been taken care of, in my opinion.
No, exactly. So I think that these things have sort of slipped into being standardized and normalized. And I think there's an element of trying to row that back a little bit. However, I think giving instructions clearly is a valid perspective. I'm gonna get a beer while I'm
You carry on, yeah. But no, it's by the way, we don't advocate alcohol and live radio.
Well, I do because I've had a hard day. So I haven't left this room all day. I haven't left this room since about 9 this morning. Well, I have for a few bits, but anyway. But I need listen. That's what the assistant's for, right? So yeah, I think the whole I don't mind the instructions piece, but the benches has become a bit toxic at times.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously on a Sunday morning. You've got 30 people lined up, standing on the sideline normally, and that's a completely different environment, right? But if you're going into stadium football, even at step 7, step 6, whatever, then we need to try and manage that behaviour. So that's been an instruction as well, right? But from my perspective, I don't think the game is that broken. Oh, look at this, lad. Thank you.
Oh, what's here? Where do you live? What service? Look. Oh, blimey.
Isn't she lovely?
Great stuff.
You remember that, darling. Thank you. So I don't think the game's that broken. I think that there's just elements of it.
I like to pick up because you have a good experience and you ref at a high standard. What do you mean the game's not broken? I like.
I mean, like I was saying, I think we're giving the impression that everyone's running around windmilling the referees and dishing out really bad language and everyone's getting punch ups and stuff. But the game isn't that situation.
No.
But I think the situation they're saying is that filters from what you see on the TV and actually gets worse as you go down and it's a point where, look, we need to address it before it turns into.
Yeah, agreed.
And so, with respect, you see it in other foreign leagues, in particular in grassroots football in some other countries, where it's just toxic, right? So I think that we need to just recognise they're trying to deal with that. But also it's a game of emotion, like I say. So I'm also recognising that as a referee, there are times when I cause my own problems and I cause problems in a game. I get that.
Please explain.
Well, you make a mistake, right? I mean, we're all human.
But you give a free kick, you shouldn't be. Or
I mean, I think a free kick's a bit inconsequential.
Yeah.
I would say I think there are examples where perhaps you give a penalty.
Yeah.
You send a player off. You just cumulatively make mistakes in a game, and very quickly it can get on top of you. So I've had games where I just want to leave the field of play after about half an hour. I want to get out of there because you're gone, right? Because mentally you realise you're not having a great day. The players are telling you you're not having a great day, and actually it can be a bit of mental disintegration. So and that happens, right? I think everyone at step 5 and above has probably had a game where they know the referee's lost it.
Yeah.
Right. And that happens.
Yeah.
And that can be like a player who can't behave themselves. Sometimes there's pressures outside of football. You come to a game and you've got a bit of baggage. You just make a stupid mistake in the first 5 minutes that weighs on you. And it's a real mental strength to try and get rid of that. Sometimes you might just, this is some of the nuances of football, is sometimes people wonder why a referee doesn't caution certain offences. You mentioned about the yellow card waving earlier, right? Oh, Adam did. The thing to remember is that sometimes if you caution too early for something minor, you've then got to make a decision 10 minutes later that might result in the player being sent off 15, 20 minutes.
You're going to have a tough match, aren't you?
Now, I would always advocate that a player is responsible for their own decisions. And if they make the referee make a decision, no matter what minute it is, ultimately that's on them.
Yeah.
However, it's a really fine line as a referee to try and say, right, is that first tackle, which isn't really a thing, right? But is that first tackle the caution I want to give, or do I want to let the game breathe and see what happens? Mm. And there are a lot of people that referee that I speak to, maybe some listening tonight, that will all be going, I know I've had games where I've just let a tackle go that I shouldn't have done. Yeah. And someone goes, right, if that's your level, ref, I'm going to go straight in and do the next player. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm saying, mate. Clearly, so it's an incredibly difficult thing. But however, look, I'm just trying to get the point is that refereeing, I'm not saying it's difficult, right? I'm not trying to make it over-egg it. But you can make a mistake very, very quickly, and it can really lead to problems.
I agree.
And of course, it's holding your hand up and dealing with that. However, like I was saying at the beginning, there are times when I've just don't want to be there.
The focus now, the East Fark game the other night, I was inside, I might have filmed it, the club or the supporters or what have you. Does that put you under extra pressure, knowing the game's going to be filmed or video? Or you just
no, not really. I mean, I don't find that.
Just give that penalty. It's going to come out on social
Everyone
media.
videos their games now because you've got those video machines that follow the ball around, right? Yeah, those things. Everyone's got one of those now. They don't always publish it on YouTube, but as a referee, I can ask the club secretary for the footage if I want to. But no, I don't. I think if I made a stupid mistake, it would suddenly appear on YouTube. That's what happens, right? I mean, and I have been the subject of some YouTube videos. I won't point you at them, but you know, I've been the subject of a few, and it's cool. But
surely does that make you a better person or better referee? So what I'm saying is, my point is, you're being filmed. You've seen the mistake, right? I won't do that again, perhaps. But if it weren't being filmed, you wouldn't, you know.
To an extent, I think the self-analysis, like all players do, right, is sometimes, why did I do that? You know, was I in the wrong position? So there's a couple. I'll give an example last year where I gave a penalty. I probably knew it wasn't right. As soon as I gave it, because sometimes player reaction, because some of the team you've given it for goes, "Oh, thanks very much. I love a penalty." You know, and you think, "Oh, bloody hell, clearly got that wrong, right?"
Yeah, but surely.
And then you watch it back on video. Just to say, Martin, you watch it back on video, and then you think, the reason I got that wrong was because I'm in the wrong place. And I use that as a reference point to say, if that happens next time the plays at that direction, I'm going to change what I'm going to do. So it's always a learning curve.
You know what I'm asking? Are you a referee? Is that when you do see a foul in the box, right, you blow penalty, or do you give yourself a few seconds to think about it? Or if you're not sure, you think about it, no, play on. No pen.
I'm quite a delayed whistler anyway in general.
Right, okay.
Two reasons. Primarily because I've always got a point of view that I want the game flow. So I might want to go, look, you know what? If it takes me a second to blow the whistle, but you've suddenly gained an advantage from that, I'm actually quite happy that's worked out, right? So that's the first piece. And then secondly, you want to make sure you get it right. And sometimes there's a little bit of a clue from the players.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. I didn't give it. There was a penalty shout on Saturday for East Thurrock, and at the time it was at 0-0, and there was contact. The player went down, and my judgment is that standard normal contacts in football. The opponent didn't win the ball; he just sort of caught him, but more of a coming together. And I actually hit the whistle to my mouth, and then didn't blow it. Pulled it away and carried on. I went, no, I'm not having that. Carry on. Now, obviously,
players must have seen that.
I don't care, right? Because me putting the whistle to my mouth isn't saying me blowing it, right? So ultimately, if you're watching me, you're not watching the game, then great. I don't care, because I had that comment after the game from Steve, the East Thurrock manager, and he said to me, "I saw you put the whistle to your mouth." I went, "Yeah, I did," and he went, "Yeah, but you didn't blow it." He said, "No, I think you got it right," and
fair enough,
and that's fine, cool, because he's a good guy, right? But that's the game. But I'd rather do that. I don't care if I put the whistle to my mouth. I didn't blow it. So ultimately, the point's mute, right?
Was there a lines person or lino on your side where the foul was committed?
Oh, a classic example of non-league football is the lino, right? Okay, fine. Yes, he's there, but I've given the decision, so it's not him to come in, is it? It's not his job to interfere. No.
But he can go before you blow. He can go in the penalty box.
That isn't a signal for penalty anymore, but yeah.
Penalty, no, play on. I don't, whatever. You know?
I mean, if he'd done that, I'd probably chill him after the game. Right.
Why?
Right. Okay, I mean, maybe it's interesting to people listening and watching is that
I think it's fascinating because
when before a game, the referee's in a changing room with his two assistants, right? And he goes through what they call pre-match instructions. Right. And every referee's got slightly different nuances on this, but there's a general rule is that on a penalty or anything that's in an attacking area, you basically let the referee make the decision.
Okay.
Right. So the referee's instruction would always be, and mine is always the same. And every guy I've ever been out with is the same. So it's probably a bit of an unwritten rule, but for everyone listening, it's probably relevant. The referee will say to his assistant, if there's a shout in the penalty area, if there's basically got to be an appeal for there to be a penalty decision to be given, right? I'm not going to get involved if nothing's asked for.
Yeah.
there's effectively we say there's one or two things going to happen, right? What happens is the referee will say yes or no. That's the point. The referee has the first bite of the cherry that we call it. So instruction is clearly always the same to the linos. Well, okay, fine, but I'll take we'll come back to that in a second, right? The referee says, if there's a decision to be made, let me make it first. And there's three things that can happen. I say yes, and I give it. Don't care what you want to say, because you can tell me at half time and full time I've got it right or wrong. Fine. I say no. Again, don't get involved. I don't care what you've got to say until after the game or at half time. If I've got it wrong, we can have a chat about that, right? However, there's a third option, which is I do nothing. And I'll do nothing in certain situations, right? And that's where, one, I really can't see what's happened, or B, it's obvious it's a lino's decision, which would be something like a handball or a tug of the shirt or a trip where I'm looking through players. That's when the assistant referee has to come in.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth, actually, because no, you have, because
I agree. So, yeah. Okay. No, I was going to say, so in that situation, if I take the historic example on Saturday, I had a great view. I'm looking straight at it. It's 15 yards in front of me. I'm on the edge of the penalty area at this point, right? So it's near the goal line. It is contact. I can hear it, I can see it, and there's players collide. The ball's nowhere near, and the player goes over. But the ball's running out of play. He's not in control of the ball, and I don't think it's a foul. I've seen it, and I've gone, absolutely not. No penalty. It's a goal kick. So my instructions are very clear on that point, right? As I've said no. Therefore, the lino hasn't got to get involved. And I think that's right. I think that's my decision. The skill is for the referee to know when to consult. In other words, when to say, I've got no idea what's happened here. And effectively, you're going to the lino, you're shouting a name out, you're going, and you ask them, you invite them in to make a decision.
Okay.
And that's good teamwork.
But my point is going to be, I'm not saying it happened to you, but, you're on the halfway line or just inside.
That's right. That's where I stand most of the time. Yeah.
Obviously Sunday morning. But no, seriously. So you're round about the halfway line in the defensive team or attacking team, sorry, half. Someone plings a 30-yard ball. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The attackers of it onto it, defender comes across, the lino's there, you're behind play.
Yep.
Okay. Suddenly, the old flag goes up.
Yep.
Ball goes in, flag goes up. Are you mic'd up, Paul?
No.
Okay. And you're going to run over to him and say, what happened?
Well, that's the third scenario, though, isn't it? I'm too far away from play to see it. That's the skill. So I'm saying that's the skill. I'm too far away.
Yeah.
That's the skill. I'm saying I'm too far away. So, and this is the other thing with the assistant referees is the other instruction you give them is you've got to assess where I am for any other fouls and misconduct, because ultimately what we ask the assistants to do is to basically own the sort of 10, 20 odd yards around them and say, look, that's your zone to give a free kick. If you think there's a foul there, flag it and give it, and I'll follow and I'll back you up 100% because you're better placed than me. I'm not going anywhere near you. Right? Because that's the referee doesn't want to go into the deepest corners of the pitch with a neutral assistant. So that's the other thing we say, Martin, is you'll say to the assistant, right, only come in where I've not given a decision, or B, you think you're more credible, right?
And obviously, you trust your linesman.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the guys at our level are level 4 referees doing the line, right? So they should be decent. To be honest, it's not always. And everyone makes mistakes, right? It's fine. And actually, I'm quite pragmatic that I was there once and I made mistakes on the line, so I don't mind that people make mistakes. The worst thing you can do is ignore the pre-match instructions, irrespective of what they are, right? And I feel sorry for people on the line because they often get a lot of stick from the crowd and the players, right, for not doing something, help him out there, lino, whatever they say to him.
I must tell you, Paul, we went to last season. We went to Leighton Orient versus Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Brother-in-law couldn't go. He's a season ticket holder, so me and my boy Cal went. Actually loved the day on the central line. There we go, an half hour, pie mash, pint. Watching the game, and the pitch is right. You got the stand, and you got like a little running track, if you like, and then you got the lino.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, it wasn't me, I must say. The stick the lino got was like, no, keep out. This is from obviously seasoned Leighton Orient fans, you'd be like, "Oh no, keep up with play. No, that weren't off." And I'm thinking, it's like this now. This is what we get on a Sunday morning. You know what I mean? And
I think there's two things for the assistants, right? Is one, they're following the referee's instructions clearly, which is at times frustrating for you to watch because you don't understand that. So you're going, well, why has he not got involved there, or why has he done that?
No, I do, but my point really was that perhaps at the Premier League, you might not hear the crowd if a few are shouting out, but somewhere like Leighton Orient, you're going to hear every voice, every single voice.
I know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not on first name terms of all of them, but I know quite a few of the guys that observe a referee at that level.
Yeah.
Just because we all interact, we have coaches and mentors, and
yeah.
I sometimes fall official on National League, for example. So I've come across a lot of these people, and they all say the same thing: is they just blank it out.
Well,
they hear it, but they don't hear it.
I was going around in circles, but that was my point.
Yeah,
you can definitely hear from the flats. I mean, we was all having great conversation, banter with them at the flats at Orient the other week.
You were Leighton Orient Portsmouth, weren't you, Ed?
Yeah. So you got a good point there, Mark. Yeah.
But yeah, look, this is the interesting piece. Of course, is that what people don't understand is that why decisions are made on the field of play sometimes is because that's what the referee is asked. But to your point about the penalties earlier, sometimes you do want to give it a bit of time because obviously it's easier to give a nice soft defensive free kick and get everyone out of the game, right? That's fine. But where there's a consequential decision, you really want to make sure you get it right. So taking a second or two shouldn't be a problem.
No. Listen, I've ref myself a long time ago in the Echo League kids football. And then it weren't the players; it was the parents on the touchline. It
hasn't changed.
I was saying, it must be.
I don't know, but I'm assuming it hasn't changed. I've heard reports.
I presume so. I mean,
okay. Well, we're going to take a little break anyway. Have a quick mini break. And we're back in a couple of minutes here on GFS. Ian.
I know Rod Stewart music.
Is Ian putting music on?
I can sing to you.
Please don't.
No, Ian, our producer's supposed to put a record on. You might have popped to the loo or something, or looking up the rules of the football.
Oh,
don't worry, just carry on chatting.
All right, well, just carry on then. That was a very brief mini break for the Grassroots Football Show here on East London Radio.
Ian's on mute, by the way. Ian's on mute.
Yeah, we can't hear us anyway. So, all right, okay, right. Let's just carry on then until for another half hour, 45 minutes or so. So, Martin, you're leading this very, very well, and it's fascinating to listen to. So, I'll just let you carry on.
I chat with Paul last time you were on, and I said to everyone after, I really enjoyed the chat, and honest chat. And I think we spoke, I think Adam just let me and you talk for about 2 hours, Paul, because we just...
No, honestly, it's fascinating to listen to.
No, I do quite enjoy it, actually, because I think Adam, Martin and I have some quite opposed opinions at times, but it's also quite interesting because I think he allows the point that we can sometimes talk about some of the hidden points about what we have to go through as a referee, right, and understand why we do certain things. So hopefully it sort of makes sense. I mean, I can answer anything you want really about the current refereeing situation. I mean, like
freedom of speech, different opinions.
The other interesting thing is that there's I don't think you've seen much of it yet, but one of the other things is the FA are a lot more lenient now on social media usage. I think they're sort of trying to get to a point that I don't think they've got a massive issue with referees using social media. It used to be a problem. I was quite a prolific Twitter user, particularly when I was getting stick, right? I'd often look up what's going on and basically reply to it. And I've got no problem with that. But I think there was a bit of a balancing act for the public profile. And I think that a lot of the Premier League referees haven't got a social media profile for that reason. But I do think that's changing. Just to let you know, I think that's going to be changing. I think there's a couple of referees already got something and they are a bit more open to it.
You've got a lot of, social media, I just do Twitter. I'm not clever enough for the other lot, but you get a lot of, obviously, ex-professional referees on there as well, and
you do.
I quite enjoy
Heath Hackett.
Yeah, keep at it. He shouldn't have sent off this damn centre half Gal in 19 whatever year that was.
Yeah.
Or the FA Cup, but that's another story. But it's no, I'm saying so. Basically, you know what I've seen so far. You get a lot of ex-professional referees on Twitter. Great, don't mind that. Don't necessarily agree with what they say. And but I've never abused. I don't think I've abused anyone. But it's
look, sometimes I bring it on myself, right? So, you know, I mean, I don't know if there's any people that are listening to here that were at a game last year I did, which was Grays. I did Grays against Grays against Sudbury at Averley.
Yeah.
I did Grays against Sudbury back in, I think, April, March time. And I had an absolute stinker. I had an absolute stinker for 90 minutes, and I got so much stick.
Did you affect the scoreline?
No, you've got. Well, let me ask you a question. If a game's at 0-0,
I know you're going to say,
and I give a really terrible corner decision, and the team score from that corner,
right? As a coach,
you're going to blame me, right?
Well, as the correct answer is, I should be able to go at my defence for letting them score that from a corner.
Yeah, fair enough, but
it's not that way.
It wasn't a corner, right?
In
in hindsight, now, I've played that through in my mind a number of different times.
What happened?
Right, gents, you're back live.
Oh, we were back live anyway, weren't we?
We've been talking all through it here. We didn't know you'd done the record.
Oh, I played a record. Couldn't you hear it?
Couldn't hear nothing. No, so we just carried on talking.
Okay, we played some Rod Stewart. Never mind. Carry on.
No.
Play some Rod Stewart, the Cockney Scotsman. Outrageous. What song was it, Ian?
Hot Legs.
Oh, one of my least favourites. I'm much being a fan of Baby Jane. Okay.
You guys can't hear it. Okay. Never mind.
Well, for the people that didn't listen, I was just talking, Martin, about influencing games and referee social media use and how sometimes you can get a bit of stick. And I was talking about an experience at Isthmian North game last year at Grays, where I had a really bad day, Martin. Right, I gave a pretty poor corner decision to Sudbury in the 75th minute. It was 0-0. Sudbury were dominating the game and therefore deserved to win, but that's by the by.
Yeah.
They conceded. I gave them a corner. They scored from it, and they went on to win the game 2-0. But for the last 15 minutes, I could have died because I knew I got it wrong.
Pleased that they got a second goal?
No, because what I really wanted, to be completely frank, was Grace to score.
Of course, yeah.
Of course, I can't manufacture it, and I didn't manufacture anything at all, and I wouldn't do that. But I really wanted them. If I can say that, I'm going to be honest. It's probably the wrong thing to say, but I really wanted them to score because I felt terrible.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think Grays had won like 9 games in a row.
Yeah.
Right, and they were like this unstoppable machine, but they got dominated that day, and Sudbury went on to win the league, right? I'll come second in the league.
Did you get any stick from the crowd or the manager or
tons? And I got tons of abuse after the game. I think the point was, I made the point earlier about sort of mental disintegration, about how you're going to be affected by a game. I let way too much go in that game.
Because of that decision?
No. Prior. So when like I said, I said to you earlier about when you assess a game, so you watch it like on video. This game wasn't videoed that much. I think there's a few little clips here and there, but there was no actual video of the game. But I played it back in my head. So I come home and my wife, Donna, said to me, I've got to put it out of my head. But I was just ruined for the weekend.
Yeah, cool.
I genuinely was. I really cared. And people don't necessarily understand that, but I really did.
Oh, I do. Sometimes on a Sunday, I'll get beaten on the same.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely don't tend to care that much about things, but on that particular game, let's just talk about this in context. I let the game go, and what I mean by that is, where if I analysed it, I probably could have cautioned 4, 5, 6 players, mostly for dissent, but also for a couple of tackles and just general trying to control the game. I let it go. And actually, the problem with refereeing and doing that is if you let it go too much, it spirals out of control. And then you go, where do I start issuing a car? How do I manage it? How do I bring it back? And it's a real mental. Well, I think I don't want people to feel sorry for me. It's just I made a mistake, and that's what happened. And I let it go too much. And ultimately, by the time I'd had that corner decision, I wasn't even paying attention to the game. I was switched off. And I didn't necessarily see what happened, and both players appealed for the corner and the goal kick.
But then surely, you know the rules of the referee rules, or the games of the law, sorry. If you're in doubt, give it to the defence.
No, I agree. And actually, again, one of the big learnings from that was I'd given the corner, and all I got then was a load of abuse, abuse in inverted commas, from about 4 or 5 Grays players. And like I said to you earlier about the penalty thing, right? Sometimes you can sense from player behaviour, because none of the Sudbury players, I think a couple of them were just like getting the rest down, ignoring, looking no eye contact. Yeah. I should have the mental fortitude at that point to go, you know what, I've clearly got that wrong. I'm giving a goal kick. And I'll get out of shit, and I'll probably look stupid to everyone in the crowd and everyone on the pitch. That's fine. But it's the right decision.
Yeah.
I can't tell you 100% got that decision wrong. I can't. Because I didn't see it properly. And secondly, everyone's going to tell you a different perspective based on who they support. But it just felt wrong.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely buggered for the weekend, to be honest. It ruined my Sunday. I got a lot, and the point I was trying to get to, sorry, I got a lot of stick on social media. Right. I mean, there was a couple of fans from the home club that they weren't addressing me. They were just talking about, they just went with the worst referee of all season, joke decision of a corner, blah, 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 blah. And me being me and in a bad mood on a Saturday night, I just thought, I've had a beer by this point. Yeah. It's fine, I'll join in. And I started giving it a bit back, right? Yeah. And ultimately, I did. And there was it was just not a good situation, right? So I think I don't mind getting a bit of criticism, right? It's the nature of the beast, end of the day, and I'm okay with it. I think what I need to probably learn to do is not create it for myself in the first place. But then if I can't do that, if I can't do that, then obviously not react to it. Yeah. But I think people need to understand is sometimes we know.
Yeah.
I don't need to walk into the bar after the game and have 20 people just like giving me stick, which sometimes happens. I don't need to walk home or through a car park, as happened twice last year, and start getting pushed and shoved and stuff by people that are annoyed by the result, because sometimes I know. Sometimes it's out of context, but it's not helpful. No. So,
perhaps if they are supporters, add a couple of pints as well.
Yeah, of course. But having a beer doesn't mean you can start being abusive. But of course, I know you're not saying that. But
just say, I don't know. I'm going to pick your brain. I don't know whether you're contradicting yourselves. Please bear with me. You said, some game or one, that particular game, we've let things go. Then suddenly you realise I shouldn't have let all this go. I've got to start knuckling down. But half hour ago, when we discussed about someone might have done a bad tackle in the first 30 seconds or a minute of a game, you thought, well, it's the first minute of the game. Firstly, all right, a tackle. I'll let him have that. Is that because it's the first minute of the game? Now, if that happened in the 30th, you might have done a yellow card.
Absolutely right. Exactly. We'll get the same. I think we're at the same point now, aren't we? I don't think that contradicts. I think I'm saying is that knowing when to clamp down on a game before you get to a point where it happens, before it suddenly gets out of control and you're letting too much go. Because, and again, this is whole mental state of mind. It's nonsense if you think about it logically. But you start to think, I'm not being consistent. If I dish a caution out now, I'm not being consistent, right? Which is rubbish. Because actually, by issuing a caution now, I can start being consistent.
Yeah.
And that's
a good point. That is a good point.
I mean, and that's such a, it's, I mean, I've been refereeing for a long time and I still get this wrong.
A player's going to go say to you, ref, you let that one go, but you brought me with the same tackle.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. Exactly. You want to avoid that, but you shouldn't avoid that conversation.
Yeah.
Actually, the answer to that is, and now I'm dealing with it because it's going to get out of hand, right? It's the being proactive, not reactive, I think, is a really difficult skill. But like I say, I've been doing it a long time, but I still recognise that I will sometimes just get it wrong.
See, there's I don't know if you know on Twitter, is it called I might have got the name wrong, Ref Support UK or something like that on Twitter.
Yeah, Martin Cassidy's thing.
They always defend referee. They always, apart from I think the other night when the Wolves apparently should have had a penalty, but they always, and what they always come back with, well, yeah, the referee's made a mistake, but your striker's missed a sitter out from 3 yards. Blah blah blah. What about his mistake? You're not having a go at him.
Okay.
But my point, I've always got a point to. But my point is when it's 0-0. Well, you described it. It's 0-0. The 93rd minute you've given a penalty. Okay, which wasn't a penalty. I'm just saying I'm not saying you personally. Okay, and then the other team would score from it. What if the ref support are saying is, well, it's down to you missed all these chances. Well,
and that's true to a point. So I think
point.
Maybe I will contradict myself. Maybe I will contradict myself here, right? I think I said to you, I think I mentioned this our last time we had a chat.
Yeah, we did.
I don't think I've ever cost a team a game, ever. I don't think a referee ever does cost a team a game. I know you do, and I'll maybe contradict myself with that Grays example, where actually, if I hadn't given that corner, then that team wouldn't have scored. But it does. But time isn't linear, right? It doesn't mean that they wouldn't have scored 2 minutes later.
Okay.
It doesn't mean anything. And I think the point is, just because a referee gets something wrong, that happens in every game. But ultimately, the consequences, if a player doesn't score a penalty or gives away a penalty or does something stupid, ultimately that has a direct result. That has a direct impact on the scoreline. So let's give an example. If I gave a corner to Sudbury and they scored from it, right? I feel bad about that. But as you mentioned earlier, Grays have still got to defend it.
Yeah, okay.
So ultimately, they've still got an action to prevent it happening. If I give a penalty, if let's go to a worst case scenario, I give a penalty and it's scored, what it doesn't mean is that I've cost someone a game. They've lost 1-0 when they've missed or not. I say they've not had a shot on goal all game. That happens quite a lot, right? Then ultimately, if you haven't a shot on goal all game, you ain't going to win.
That's right. Yeah.
You might lose, but you ain't going to win. And like I say, time isn't linear. So just because something happens in a game, it doesn't mean it wouldn't have happened already, or I've somehow altered the trajectory of time. Ultimately, if I think there was a classic example the other day that Ref Support UK were getting involved in. I think it was the Wrexham game.
Yes, it was.
Was it 5-5?
They're talking about Ben Foster, weren't they?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen the goals in the game or anything, but allegedly there was a handball not given at 5-4 or something for a penalty. And it's like, well, they're going, oh, we've lost the game because you gave the handball or something. Or we'd lost 3 points because you gave the handball. It's like, well, to an extent, but ultimately, you've let 4 other goals in.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No,
the referee is always going to get blamed for something, but ultimately there's something happened before and after that decision. Ultimately, has also impacted the result. I don't think we should be too blasé about. There are times when a referee makes a decision that ultimately does affect a result, but they're not to blame for the end result of the game. That's my perspective.
It does affect. No, fine. The result doesn't affect the referee. It could be 1-1. It could be 6-1. Doesn't matter. The referee refs the game. Fantastic. But to the players on the pitch, it does. It affects them. It means not. I don't mean it means a lot. It's not the right words I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, the referee, has the refs their game, gets paid. Thanks, ref. See you soon. All right. But then the 22 players in the changing room are now, I won't use the P word, but they're really like.
And they're annoyed. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I can't think of a word. Thank you. Annoyed. Really annoyed. Okay, because obviously, perhaps the referee, but they've lost the game or they're doing the game, so it affects the players harder. Would that be correct? Do you think or not?
No,
you're not in the changing room.
I don't feel sorry for him. Exactly. No, look. I guess to a point, I am contradicting myself. If I take the Grey Sudbury example, I felt really bad after that game. If only because my action led to a goal that ultimately then led to a second goal. Well, the second goal wasn't my fault, but But at that point, obviously,
whoa.
But no, I get the whole mental.
Yeah, got tactics there and there.
Yeah, of course, I get that. And maybe their tactic was to draw 0-0 and get a point against a team that at the time were top of the league. I get that.
No.
However, other things happen in the game before and after that event that led to that situation.
The UK say, isn't it? They say that all the time.
But it's true.
Yeah, it's to a certain extent.
It's true. Like the Wolves example, right? Wolves are going. That's a classic, isn't it? Wolves are going. Bloody hell, we had a chance to get a result out of about Man United, and you cost us a point by not giving a penalty. It's like, yeah, but you missed 5 sitters.
Yeah.
Right, you shouldn't be in that situation.
Yeah, but you are.
It's all whataboutery.
But you are in that situation.
No, but it's okay, but that's fine. But it's not the referee's fault. You lost the game, is it? Because no, it's not, Martin. Because the other thing is, you may have missed that penalty. So the other thing is to assume you're going to score is the first point. That's maybe they would. Of course, there's a high chance they would have scored.
So make out the score was Man United 1, Wolves 2. It didn't matter. It didn't matter whether it was a penalty or not. They would have, and Man United have been up the other end and scored.
Of course.
So whose fault is that?
Wolves.
It's the referee on the day.
Conceding a second goal.
Well, there you go. This is it. This is what. Look.
It's a really straightforward example, though, isn't it, of a team that have absolutely squandered 4 or 5 chances to win and again, to take my point and to reverse it back. Time isn't linear. If they score the first goal, maybe Man United go and win 4-1.
Yeah.
Because their checks still change. The whole point is that one event doesn't automatically mean that everyone else would happen. Wolves could have scored their first chance, and Man United suddenly put 5 players up front and win 5-1, 6-1. So it doesn't necessarily mean Wolves missed 4 chances, 5. They would have scored if they scored one of them. There's a chance they would have won that game.
Because the scoreline was 1-0, the focus was on the referee, obviously.
Of course it was, and that's fine. And that's fine, and I agree that they should have had a penalty.
Yeah.
But you can't then say the referee cost you a point. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think he cost you a point. I think he prevented you having the opportunity of salvaging a point. But what's cost you a point ultimately is your inability to score a goal. I mean, it's a bit of a nuance, but I'm not trying to defend the referee. Like I say, he made a massive mistake on that point. But I just last season can think of 3 or 4 games where the old knock on the door comes after 20 minutes and the losing manager wants to come in and have a go at you, which I'm always happy to have a conversation about, by the way.
Are your lines people there?
Yeah, it's always witnessed, don't get me wrong, but but that knock on the door always comes, and it's always a losing team, clearly. And I love listening to that sort of conversation and then coming back with, situations in the game where you didn't do this, didn't do that, you didn't have a shot on goal all game, didn't do this. I get the fact that I gave a soft penalty, you didn't like it, and you've lost. But just some context is interesting. I had a game last year as another example, actually, where I really defended myself on this situation where a team lost, but and they lost actually for the 24th time that season. As Daly got relegated, the manager came in after the game and gave me a load of stick about the game, and I just went to him, "You've lost 23 games for this."
Has he been in the changing room for every
I don't know, but it's an easy comeback, right? But the point is that it's not everything is the referee's fault. I get that, and sometimes you're just going to get stick for no reason, and sometimes people just get upset for no reason. But look, we have to. Go on, sorry.
I just thought of a question, actually. What made you get into refereeing? And I take it when you were younger, you must have got a grassroots. I don't know if you started in grassroots or not. I can't remember what you said last time now. But if you did, you must have got some stick, but you still carried on.
This is actually an interesting conversation, actually, because I was looking at this. I had a good conversation with someone a while ago about this, and I'll be completely brutally honest. I used to play. I was average. I played at sort of senior league level.
That's a good level.
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't as good back then.
No, okay.
Standards have really improved. They are improving every year. It was pretty straightforward to get a game. at that level. I was okay, but I was never going to pull up any trees. And so I started playing Sunday mornings and what have you. And actually, at the point of that particular juncture, I need the money.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, it's
it's 3 fees then. You remember?
I think I was getting 35 quid a game.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's quite funny actually. It's a million miles away from where I am now, but
at
that point in sort of like 2009, 2010, I just changed jobs. I found myself, I moved house, I got a new mortgage, and all of a sudden I thought, I could do with spending money here, because I was sort of struggling just to make it. I'm making it. I could live, right, clearly, but at that point, I just wanted to get. I was doing 2 or 3 games a weekend. So I had this double sort of thing where I was playing football but not enjoying it, and actually wanting to carry on in the game. I really loved the dressing room stuff. I loved being involved in the match, but wasn't really getting a game and wasn't really enjoying it anymore. And the game was full of aggression I didn't really like. At the same time, actually, I thought, why am I paying £5-10 subs? I could earn myself whatever. So I started out doing Echo League football, as you mentioned earlier. So I was doing under 14, under 15 games and 25, 30 quid, whatever it was, at Collier Row, whatever it would be in Romford, just to get a few extra quid, really. Yeah. Like I say, it's not the case now, but
but what I'm saying is, after that initial refereeing in the Echo League, did you decide, you know what, I quite like this?
I think that there's 2 types of people. There's ones that are ambitious and ones that are not. And my immediate ambition was to get away from that Sunday morning stuff.
Oh, that's a good answer, that.
It's my immediate ambition.
Yeah,
I wanted to get away from Sunday morning. I didn't really enjoy it. I've played it. I know what the referees get. And sometimes you can get some nice teams like Debden where, and I've done a Debden a few times, right, like I said to you over the years. So I did enjoy the Sunday morning, but my ambition was actually to always referee harder than I played. And that was always the thing. It's like, actually, I really fancy stadium football and, under floodlights and what have you. And that was always really cool. And like I say, then you get into the whole changing room tunnel.
Yeah.
All of that sort of before pre-game build-up excitement and stuff. So I really enjoyed that. And that was the whole ambition. Once I got my feet under the table, my first season was purely about just keeping fit and getting a bit of money, right? But now what it ended up as is, how high can I go? Yeah. And it is incredibly tough.
I can imagine
to get promoted from where I am now, right? And I've got so much respect for the guys that make it. But
don't you feel you've made it to a certain extent? You must have done.
Well, no, I mean level up. I mean, I actually quite like the step 3, step 4 football. I really do. Aside from the bad games that I have, and they happen, I do enjoy it. I've been completely honest. I have no, and I say ambition, to do National League football.
Where you're at now, you're enjoying it. That's where you want to stay.
Well, it's more the case I haven't got the time.
Yeah.
My work is busy. I travel a fair bit, not massively amount, but I do travel a lot. But I'm generally working quite long hours, and ultimately I can't dedicate the time to it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And when you're getting International League South, you actually getting some professional teams. And the drag on your time with the travel and stuff, because you can go to Truro, you could go to bloody, always the West Country. You could be doing long trips.
Exactly. Gone, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I was saying that's Tuesday. Sometimes that's on a Tuesday night, right? You'll go, you can go anywhere on a Tuesday. So I don't necessarily have an ambition to progress. So I'm quite happy where I am. I would always take it if it was offered, and I would always consider it.
Have you got to go to the next level to referee the next level?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no like you can't just. I won't give you a game at the next level unless you're actually promoted.
Okay. No, fair
so that's always interesting, right? Because that only happens as a result of being observed, which I know a lot of people think observing changes a referee's behaviour, but ultimately it's yeah, of course, but it's judged across the season. So and that you mentioned about being recorded. That's another thing, is like, because you're being recorded. The FA make a point of telling us they watch every game on YouTube, right? They make a point of telling you that. So And they keep a catalogue, I think, of all of the referees, and they have a catalogue of all the videos of the games. So they make a point of doing that. But I don't have any disappointment where I am. I think it's to get out. I mean, Adam will know, to get out of the senior league where I did is incredibly difficult. They only take 3 or 4 every year, right? And there's 40, 45 referees in that level.
That's 9 per people as well.
But the referees is like is a separate list.
Oh, yeah.
So to move on from that is quite difficult. It can be a challenge. There are guys that are very, very good referees that just by blind bad luck of having a couple of guys that are just doing better than them for a season, just never get out effectively. And I'm not saying it's a bad level of football, but you're always going to want to progress to Isthmian football. So
completed there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's just look, anything that's a better standard, but also it's the number of games you get. Ultimately, you get more games. So
have you actually refereed any cup finals at that sort of level?
It's often how you'll tell who's getting promoted.
Oh, right, okay.
Right, is who gets the cup finals. So I had the Gordon Brasted final. I think in 2018, I think it was. So when I got that cup final, I knew I was near the top. Wow. You don't get official notification from the FA until later on, but I got the Gordon Brasted final that year, which was at Burnham. That's generally how you can tell. And the referees at top will generally get whether the League Cup final is and whatever else. And the same thing with the Isthmian promotion games, right? The guys that get the promotion finals are the guys that are top of the table.
Now you explain it that way, it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just going to come in. By the way, I'm actually loving this. It's brilliant, honestly. It's brilliant. I'm really, really enjoying this discussion. Just to interrupt there just for a minute. We're going to go on after this for another 20 minutes to have discuss this. The poll has closed for our results in midweek, and the landslide winner with 64.6% of the votes is
Hutton.
No, it's Woodford 4, Bowers 3. Yes. They never win. Yeah. So well done to Woodford. That's the third time this season they've got the result of the week or midweek or weekend award. Fantastic.
Did they actually get an
FA
award?
Cup as well.
Did they actually get an award for this?
No, it's just recognition, Martin.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Second place was Cannonsworth 3, Newbury Forest 4, which I can kind of understand. 17.1%. Brimsdown's 5-0 winner of St Mags got 10.2%, and 8.1% went for Burnham 2, Hutton 4. To be fair, there wasn't that many games this week, so it was a bit of a difficult one to.
I'll be honest with you. I still don't think no one would have beat the Woodford game.
No, definitely not. Yeah, right. 20 more minutes actually 27 more minutes of Paul and Martin talking all the things, new rules and refereeing. Because I'm actually.
Are you finding it interesting, Adam? Is there any? I mean, I don't know if there's anyone listening or has any questions. I'm always interested to catch.
Yes, I have asked people if they've got any questions
or comments.
Or comments. Please send it to us.
We had this bloke last year. It was terrible. Yeah.
No, but to be fair, a lot of people don't watch or listen live on a Thursday because of obviously, training. Well, we get quite a few listen live, but it's a bit. You get more questions during the week, and people just enjoy the discussions a lot more. To be honest, so
I think there's a lot of it. There's a lot of secret. No, it's not secrets, but I think there's a lot of unknowns, isn't there, about what goes on at the behind the scenes of football, particularly with officiating.
Definitely.
I think we want to try and break down those barriers because I think it would help I think it sort of bridges that relationship between the players, the spectators, the managers, and the referee, right? Because there are reasons that things happen.
Exactly. I totally agree.
When I come to Walthamstow and do a game, you'll be nice to me, Adam. That's and you've got Callum up front still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. I mean, that's always a battle I enjoy, right? So maybe he'll be nice to me as well.
Oh, you get on. Do you and Callum not see eye to eye then?
No, we do. He's a good lad. I do actually like him really much. Yeah, he was when he was playing at Manford Way many years ago. I was refereeing him in the Olympian, so I know him very well. Good lad, actually, and I just mentioned it because I know he plays for you still.
Yeah. Thank you. So I don't know where Mark went there. He probably went to check on his trophies. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let you guys carry on your discussion because it's absolutely. And if anyone's got anything, tweet us at ELR Football or on the live chat.
Actually, Adam, Paul, have you actually refereed a game in Walthamstow at all?
Not a step 4. No. I last refereed Walthamstow in the Senior League, Senior League Cup. I remember that. That was a game at home against Leighton. I still remember it because it was my highest ever observation mark.
Oh, right, okay.
Leighton Athletic aren't even with us anymore.
No. But that was back in 2018. Yeah. I remember that.
We might get you sooner or later. You never know.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. It's possible.
No disrespect to whatever team you're playing, Adam. I know Paul's been on the show, and I might go. He's going to be biased tonight.
It's nothing I hate more than that. Honestly, it's like I haven't. I mean, I know you're serious. I just don't get it. I don't get the whole emotional blackmail of that sort of stuff. Right? I mean, biased. I mean, like I don't give a toss about either team, to be honest. Right, yeah. I mean, what?
I totally agree. The rest.
No, it happens. It happens a lot in FA Cup and trophy and stuff games where, we used to have to wear a county badge. Yeah. We don't anymore, but I'd have an Essex FA badge on, and I'd have an Essex team against a team from Kent or Sussex or Surrey, and they'd lose the game, and it's like you were biased towards the Essex team.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm not, am I? Because I'm not a supporter of them.
Yeah.
And the FA makes sure that we don't get teams that are local. So I live in Shenfield, so I'll never get Brentwood, for example, or I'm unlikely to get Billericay in a game.
But they're well Brentwood.
Yeah, they are. But I'm going to go and watch them a lot, and I do their pitch inspections. But I go over there when I can because I quite enjoy watching the games over there. But
the chairman of the Brentwood League on a Sunday, Andy Stacey. I don't know if you know him, but he goes to the home games, he goes to the away games.
I don't know him. No.
Yeah, he's really into Brentwood. He really is. He's really good.
Well, they're going to have a 3G pitch in a few years' time.
That's right. He said exactly the same thing. He was on a show last week, and he said exactly the same thing.
Yeah, that's a nice little club actually, and I know a few guys over there. But like I say, there's the accusations of bias are quite interesting because the referee will never get their local team based on postcodes. So that's why I lived in Upminster until last year. I never got Hornchurch, right? And I'm hoping to go there because I quite like Hornchurch as a club. But I mean, I don't care when I go there whether or not whether they win or not. Quite frankly, I don't follow them.
Funny enough, we invited the Hornchurch goalkeeper on, Joe Wright. He couldn't because of training. He couldn't make it actually, but we've had a couple of cup finals at Hornchurch ground, and nice people. Looked after.
I know a few of the guys over there, so but like I know a few of the guys, a lot of places these days for better or worse, either infamous or famous. But
do you ever bumped into when you're out socialising? If you do, in any of the players or managers, you go, "Hello, mate, how are you? Well, that decision the other week was terrible."
Generally tend to avoid the players. I see a few. There's quite a lot around here.
But they're okay, though, aren't you?
I don't. I think I've got a way of being recognised actually, which is quite handy. I know most of the players because I see them more than once.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, a lot of the players don't recognise me, or if they do, they haven't said anything.
Yeah.
There's been quite a few that I've seen at my local.
Yeah, right, okay.
Hutton drink at my local actually, but I don't obviously referee Hutton.
No.
I've seen quite a few players from certain clubs around my way, around Shenfield Brentwood way, and I actively try and avoid them. To be honest, there's nothing good can come of it. To be honest, that's
right. That is my point. Yeah, no, that's true. That's very true. I mean, I saw a local referee. I think he's near Southend way now. He moved down to Southend, but I used to bump into him in the high road, and you know, we used to have a little laugh and a joke and what have you, you know.
What's always interesting, Martin, is there's a lot of, in life in general, a lot of unconscious bias, right? If you like someone, you like them, and if you don't, there's very little that they can do to change your mind. So sometimes as a referee, if I referee a certain team and they have a good game 3 or 4 times and they win and they like me, we're friends forever. They could lose a game, I could be terrible, but they'll always be nice to you. And likewise, I could have one bad game at a place and your reputation's tarnished. I could do them 3 or 4 times and I could be great, but they'll go, this referee's crap. You know, so I think I know who to talk to and who not to based on that experience. It's quite, you know, it's again,
how does your wife feel about you doing this? Is she okay about doing it? Meaning if you do get any abuse or the time away and what have you?
She makes me laugh actually. Her first comment whenever I walk in the house after every game, she says to me, good game or bad game?
Oh, right, okay.
And she says, that's how I know whether I talk to you or not.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that example from Grace last year, right, where I was like a bear with a sore head all weekend. And she said to me, you've just been an absolute arse, to be honest. And you know, that's right. And so that's the first thing.
What do you rep in the higher level?
She was at that game.
Oh, was she?
Yeah. She wants to go to
Costco.
Yeah, she wants to go to Costco afterwards. So the conversation, she wants to go to Costco in Lakeside.
Oh, okay.
I said, well, fine enough, I'm at Grace. So, you know, can't watch, get you for nothing. You know, so she goes, yeah, I'll come over. And
That's always the way.
So she knew that day. But yeah, she doesn't like sport in general, doesn't really care in the main. And I sort of like it that way at times. I think there are times where I want to sound off.
Yeah.
You know, I want to just talk to someone after the game, and I just can't because there's, you know, because we live by ourselves, so it's a difficult one. But no, she does. But she's very supportive. At the end of the day, she knows I'm out of football every weekend on Saturday, and she knows on a Tuesday night I'll be mostly at a game, either observing a referee from level low or I'll be doing myself a game. So, yeah, but I also happy to go out on a Friday night and get hammered, so it's fine. We'll go out and do stuff on a Friday. No, exactly. We'll do stuff on a weekend. We'll do stuff on a Friday. And then there are plenty of times, because we've got this online calendar with refereeing where you put your availability in, so the FA will give you a game only if you're available.
Yeah.
So we can block things out. So we'll often have conversations about doing that, and I'll in advance. You know, there's the classic where she'll go, "Oh, are you doing football next weekend?" Because we've got a party to go to or a wedding. It's like you could have told me like a month ago. Yeah. Because I've either got to drop off a game, which I don't really do, or basically you're going by yourself. So that happens sometimes as well. But no, she's pretty supportive.
But I was just going to say, overall, obviously, she's supportive. Does your wife support West Ham as well? Or?
She hates football.
Fair enough.
Although as a result of that, she will support West Ham.
Okay, because of you, obviously. Oh no,
that's no, I'm a Spurs fan. Yeah, she'll support West Ham. So what?
I know we've got on talking about our wives, but when I first met my wife years ago, she had her own car, and I thought, well, that's handy, right? She lived in Tottenham and she supported Tottenham. So I thought, well, I've got to marry her, haven't I? And that's what happened.
That's the only criteria you need, right? That should be the first thing. That's the first thing you should ask now when you go on the first date. Who do you support? No, actually, it's interesting, isn't it? I think that support of family and stuff is quite important.
Yeah, it is.
So I get the support, but not from a understanding the game perspective, right? It's just an emotional support, which I think is quite important.
I mean, we're both season tickets at Tottenham, season ticket holders at Tottenham. In fact, we've got 6 in our family, but we go. She's more louder than me sometimes. My missus, shush. You know what I mean? Referee, player, manager, it could be anyone. It could be me. But shush. You know, a couple of games, not professional level. I've had to sit away from her. I thought, oh, you shut over there, love. You know what I mean? Anyway.
My daughter's into football,
okay.
So I've obviously indoctrinated her into football. She's a Spurs fan.
I'm not sure how old she is, but does she play?
She's 21. No, she doesn't play. No.
That's a shame, isn't it? You indoctrinated to be a Spurs fan.
And my son as well, and he's 25. So they're both football fans. They both can't watch a few of my games before. But what they do, they just laugh about the stick I get from the fans. They sit in the stand and just tell me all the abuse I get after the game, and they basically laugh about it.
Yeah.
So
I'm wondering whether one of them might share out a bit of abuse.
I reckon I've heard it before. I just never quite had the time to catch it. But
look around properly, make sure you're sharing it out.
Yeah. But yeah, listen, getting shouted out from the crowd's all part and parcel of the game, unfortunately.
You feel over the years it's got worse? The abuse from the crowd, or is it more as you referee in the higher level, or is it less as you referee in the higher level? To grassroots again.
It's a difficult one. We can get really philosophical and talk about the relationship between people's sort of living standards, poverty level, and their emotional standards, and because there is a perspective that people that are less well off or less happy in their life will generally take a more aggressive point of view to lots of things, and emotionally will get worked up quicker. So there is, to an extent, I can probably tell you, I'm not going to say on the radio on this TV show clearly, but I will tell you about there are certain grounds and certain clubs that I know the fan base can be a little bit more aggressive, which sometimes is related to where they're based. And the demographics.
Or you can referee at Millwall every week.
Well, that's the example, right? But yeah, I mean, you could referee in I can give you a posh example, like Wingate and Finchley, which is an incredibly posh area. Right, Wingate and Finchley is a incredibly posh area, and their crowd's lovely.
Yeah.
Right. Not saying that's a great example everywhere.
No.
But generally, you can sort of sometimes get a perspective of how a crowd's going to be by whether the area's well off or not in some ways.
Even if they're losing 4-0.
Yeah. I mean, it is a little bit of that. But yes, to answer, I mean, to maybe a more direct question, there are certain crowds that can be quite aggressive, but there's always certain grounds you don't like going to.
Yeah. But you do it, don't you? If you've got to do it, you've been appointed, you just go there and ref the game, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, the other perspective is I have got a habit of giving it back as well, which is probably not ideal.
What?
Post game.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. We get off with
no, not during the game. No, that's a bit of a no. But we are allowed to report it. It can be reported, and the club can be fined. So they are responsible for the behaviour of their fans, unfortunately. So, or fortunately, so it can be reported. But I mean, look, I go and watch football, Martin, and it's just 22 blokes kicking the ball around. I don't really get that upset.
I understand.
And I don't get upset when that Spurs lose quite a lot of football, and I get frustrated by it. They lose to Arsenal or lose to Chelsea or lose to West Ham. Sometimes I'll get a bit more annoyed by that. But look, I'm just putting it in context. I can never equate that to getting a load of abuse at football. No. So I just don't understand the mentality of getting upset over it, really. I don't mind you shouting at me during a game. I get that. But because most clubs have got a bar and they don't really segregate the referee away from that. So I'll go through the bar and I just want to be able to just go have a conversation, a bit of banter. I'm okay with that. It's cool. Of course it is. Give me some stick. It's fine.
But that must happen. Say, I'm going to say the home team will won 5-0. The away team have had a quick drink. They've gone home. And you must stay and have a beer, just one beer. And there must be some jokes flying around. What I mean by that is because they run 5-0, they're in a good mood, everything's okay.
There's nothing truer in football than the losing team are the ones that are upset, right? Yeah. I mean, there's very little. Is it magnanimity or something? Whatever the word is, but there's very little people are magnanimous in defeat, right? Yeah. It does happen. Yeah. There are some nice clubs. I'm sure Adam will point out Walthamstow. Actually, they have been pretty good over the years. But there are some clubs that, most clubs, that if they lose, particularly if you've had an impact on the game, and they've lost, that they're going to focus their attention on you. I've had that quite a lot of times. I mean, I'm okay with it as long as the conversation is not personally abusive and aggressive, because I don't react well to it, to be honest. And I'm not saying I'm a hard man, or going to start like laying like rooms of people out like Chuck Norris. But at the same time,
sorry. Some of our people who are listening and watching won't know who Chuck Norris is, but
he's still the hardest man in the world. But the point is, I still will defend myself quite strongly.
Yeah.
If you want to come at me after a game, and because all I care about is there a context to this, right? Which is, you're giving me stick and you've lost 5-0 and you want to have a chat. So ref, that was a really crap decision, that penalty you gave, that you cost us the game, whatever. I'll go, fine, I'll have a chat with you.
Yeah.
Because although you're telling me something that's rubbish, at least I'll have a chat. But often you'll get people getting quite aggressive. So that's a more difficult situation to deal with.
Yeah. So we sort of more or less started on sort of grassroots. So grassroots on a Sunday for the referees until I started doing it myself.
It's a very lonely world.
No, it is. But it is. But if you if we get a regular referee, we look after all our referees at Debden. But if we get a regular referee, we have a chat with them. Sometimes, not all the time, I'll ref have a quick word after the game. They go, yeah, what's the smell? Well, that just example, that penalty, and you explain it all. Thanks very much. Other refs might not want to stay because they've got another game or they're going to the family. That's fine, no problem with that.
I said to you before, last year though, about this, about it's all about asking the referee what he's seen, because that's the conversation starter.
That's what I tell my players. That's what I tell my players now.
Exactly. What have you seen?
Yeah. That's what I say to them. And they forget. They forget. They forget.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, don't tell me I'm wrong, because that doesn't work. But you can ask me what I've seen and then give an opinion on it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right. And that's true, Martin. I think that's a really good approach.
But would the rules now change? What's going on with the new rules?
No, because that's exactly the point. Is you're not having a go at the referee. You're asking him a question. There's no one can have a go at you for asking a question.
Yeah.
Well,
it does, because it depends the way you ask it.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, if you try and hide it in a bit of abuse at the same time, then yeah, clearly. But in the main, if you just like asking, what have you seen there? I mean, if you start showing, have you got that wrong? Oh, what have you done? Okay, you're asking a question technically, but you're sort of not, are you?
Yeah.
It's a different. It's all about the way you word it and stuff. But look, it's
I read somewhere.
It's a balance.
I read somewhere. It just come to mind. I think he played for Norwich City. Grant Holt. I think it was a centre forward.
Yep.
I think I read somewhere. I'm sure I did. He's taken his referee badge, or he started refereeing.
Interesting. Okay, because he was at Wroxham. He was at Wroxham for a year.
Huh?
He played for Wroxham a couple of years ago. Yeah, a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Please Google it, make sure I'm right. I'm sure I'll see it on Twitter that he said, right, it's the start of my journey, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, they're looking to fast track people from football background.
From what background?
From football background. So they're starting to fast track. Yeah, they're starting to fast track people now. So it used to be that there was no way of skipping the queue, right? You go grassroots Sunday morning, Saturday afternoon over the park to step 7, step 6, step 4, step 3, whatever. Now it's if you've got football experience and you're half decent, we're just going to put you in at step 4. Yeah, and give you training.
But the only way you're going to do that is get my experience refereeing matches, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of selective.
No, that's my point.
I'm not a fan of that at all. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
I'm too old to deal with that sort of stuff. I'm going to be retired pretty soon, so I don't really care.
But it's like the football coaching, and I totally agree with it. I've got level 1, level 2, I've got UFP, now I think the ex-pros, they put them straight in at UEFA B level 3, which I think is right. I actually think that's right. They should do that because of the football knowledge they've got. The refereeing obviously is slightly different, isn't it?
From my experience, a lot of footballers know nothing about the laws of the game.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So, however,
yeah,
what I would really love to see is someone that is incredibly critical of refereeing, somehow, without the players knowing it's them, go and do a game at a decent level of football.
yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah,
because obviously if they knew it was them, they get treated differently. So that's, it needs to be a sort of a. They did so many cricket years ago, didn't they? Where they got Michael Vaughan, if you know cricket at all, but they got Michael Vaughan, England captain, dressed up in a beard and stuff, and they made him go and do a club game.
Yeah,
and he scored 100, and basically they didn't know it was him, so they were treating him like he was an Oppo player, and they would give him stick and stuff, and he smashed it everywhere. But that sort of thing, can you dress a referee up, a guy that's from, I don't know, an ex-Premier League pro? Can you get Alan Shearer, for example, somebody disguised, go and referee a Isthmian game? If you could do that, that would be fascinating.
That would be good. To tell what a documentary that would be.
Because I reckon he'd be terrible. 100%. Because with no experience of refereeing, he'd be in the wrong place. He would not be good at foul recognition. He probably wouldn't deal with the players very well. How would you, it's all experience. It's not, the experience isn't the same from being a player. It's not the same.
We can't pass your driving test, isn't it? You've got to have a few lessons before you pass your driving lesson.
Yeah, exactly. And the people that criticise it a lot are the people that will probably be rubbish at it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, going back to your point about Ref Support UK earlier, is they're critical because a lot of it is from people that have never done it.
Yeah.
And it's a different world. When you're standing in the middle of a pitch with all of the things around you, and you've got to work out where to stand and where to be and when to run, when not to run, and the whole skill of being in the right place at the right time. And we all often get that wrong, but it's a real skill to try and get it right. Until you've done that, you can't. I mean, you can obviously commentate on it because everyone's entitled to an opinion, but I think you have to put it in context. If you haven't done it, then you're probably missing a piece of it.
Yeah, no, good chat. That interesting. All right, Ed.
Yes, I'm good. I'm good. Well, this has been an absolutely fantastic discussion, referee, and it's honestly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it again.
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. It's been so good. I've actually been doing my housework while I'm listening because it's that fascinating.
Shaking back, Adam, what have you been doing?
Yeah, so when I mean housework, I mean like cleaning. I'm not being funny. Like they say, men can't multitask. We definitely can.
Can you show us what you've been doing?
Have
you got stripes in the carpet and stuff?
Yeah, just got to, that sort of thing. Yeah, just like literally been doing the hoovering and just.
Have you got a maid's outfit?
Very funny.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, when you're running your own flat, you've got to, Yeah,
no, I understand that, mate.
Yes, okay. And we'll just have a quick look at the fixtures, the notable fixtures this weekend. The reason it's going to be a notable fixtures is because it's the return of the FA Vars this weekend. I don't know, Paul, are you on an FA Vars game this weekend?
Absolutely not. I've got the weekend off.
Hey, lucky you. Okay, right. Well, so here we go. This is the VAR. These are the fixtures in the FA Vars this weekend. You start tomorrow night with West Essex and Harwich and Parkston. They met at the same point last year, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. And then you got Woodford against Parkview. Now that'll be an interesting game, I think, because Parkview have won their last couple of games, so they're going to be. Yeah, actually, they got 7 points out of the last 9, so they're in a bit of form. So that's going to be an interesting one, that one. On Saturday, you got Basildon Town against Great Waking Rovers, Coggeshall versus Coggeshall Town, I say, against St Margaret's-Bury. This is an intriguing one. FC Clacton versus Tilbury, two of the fancied sides in the Senior League. It's FC Romania against Buckhurst Hill, Hullbridge against Southend Manor, Ilford versus Hackney Wick, Little Oakley versus Cockfosters, Potton United against Barking, and we also have who's this one? Oh yeah, White Ensign versus Colney Heath. So some interesting fixtures there, I will say. Also tomorrow night you've got Stansted versus Hadley United at Hargrave Park. And Sawbridgeworth make the trip to Letchworth Garden City Eagles on Saturday, also in the Vars. So
it'd be lovely to see an Essex Senior League side, wouldn't it, get in the Vars final? We've not had one for a long time.
Definitely. Elsewhere, obviously, you've got a couple of other involving third and none sides. You've got Harlow Town against Newbury Forest, which is all Division 1 South tie. Clapton go to Woking to Shearwater. And you've also got Tower Hamlets at Snodland Town, and North West London host London Samurai Rovers.
That's like a dangerous team.
Yeah, sounds very dangerous, doesn't it? Yes. And there's one game on Sunday. It's Benfleet versus Freddenford.
That's a Billericay. Yeah.
No, that's a Canby days.
Is it a Canby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Hutton that play at Billericay.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah.
And then obviously there's a couple of third and none games. Man Baker Hoddesdon tomorrow night, and then you've got Burnham versus Cannons Wood. I think that's in the league. That's the game of the day, definitely. Clapton Community against Dunmow Town, and Wormley against Hutton. Essex Senior League, there is more or less a full fixture list on Monday. However, hang on. Yeah, although the Friendford's match has been postponed because I can't remember who they were playing, but whoever they were playing, it's been postponed because they're playing on the Sunday. You've got Barking versus Sporting Bengal, Buckhurst Hill versus Woodford, Great Wakeren against White Enzyme, Halstead versus FC Clacton, Holbridge versus Athletic Newham, Little Oakley against Coggeshall Town, Takeley versus Stanway Rovers, Tilbury against Romford, and West Essex versus Saffron Walden.
Wow, some good games there. Buckhurst versus Woodford. Ooh.
Local derby there.
That is one. Yeah.
Big local derby. No midweek. There's a couple of midweek games in the Spartan League. It's Sorbo versus Cockfosters and FC Romania against Stansted. And in the Thurlow and South on Tuesday nights, you've got Newbury Forest against Barkingside, Wormley against North West London. And on Wednesday, Cannons Wood against Basildon, Parkview versus St Mark's Free, and Tower Hamlets against Broomsdown.
Yeah, good game going on.
Definitely. Go on to the Essex Alliance League and the Senior League and the Olympian League website if you want to find out those fixtures from there. Okay, well, that is more or less about it from the Grassroots Football Show for this week. I'd like to thank Paul for coming on and being such an excellent guest as per usual. Excellent insight into how things are in the refereeing world.
Pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed it. We don't always agree, but that's what I like. We don't. This
is what I mean. This is what it's freedom of speech. You agree to disagree. There's no cancel culture. You don't shut anyone down. Different opinions, and we love it.
We love it.
I mean, in a way, because obviously, I think as well, it's a good, because in a way, football wise, part of the reason I think we have our own different opinions is because we're football-wise, we're from different generations. I mean, I grew up in the eras of when I was growing up, it was like Dennis Bergkamp, Zola, that sort of thing. Thierry Henry. Paul, obviously, you're a bit older than me, no offence, but but obviously you grew up you said you grew up like 70s and 80s, wasn't it? During the footballs?
Well, I was born in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 80s. I mean, Glenn Hodder was my idol. And Paul Gascoigne into the sort of 90s.
Yeah. And then, Martin, you grew up in the Herbert Chapman era, so...
Dixie Dean.
You're too predictable, son. I thought you were going to say Stanley Matthews.
Yeah. But on a serious note, we've grown up in different generations, so we've seen the game evolve in different ways. I've grown up in that late 90s, noughties era. Martin, you've grown up in the era of some of the greatest players in the world. In a sense, same with Paul as well. You grew up pre-Prem era. I've only known Prem. So you know what I mean? I think that helps with different opinions because of what we've grown up with and how the game's evolved since.
Of course it does. Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah, I mean, when Martin during Martin's prime era, Jesus Christ, they were playing in mud baths. You wouldn't get them playing in a mud bath these days, would you?
No.
I'll take it. I don't mind.
No, yeah, and I bet you played some right mud baths, didn't you, Mark?
Oh, I haven't all. I'll tell you nothing wrong with them. Nothing. As a defender, I actually love
It's like Ronnie. It's like Ronnie Radford all over again.
Yeah, Ronnie Radford. Yeah. I
There you go.
Do you know something right? Yeah. I can't remember when it was. It was what do you call it? I went to Hereford away last year with Pompey, and what happened is obviously BBC was showing obviously the replay of that Ronnie Radford thing. Yeah, because it was on BBC. And someone I know, they're showing it on the big screen actually. Someone I know who's actually referees in the Hampshire League said, "How the hell did that game go ahead? I'd call that straight off." I was like, "Well, that's what they played on in the blooming 70s."
Yeah, worse than that. Honestly, I've seen worse than that. That's But we just put the boots on and played.
Well, it's like Tower Hamlets all over again, really, isn't it?
Shake.
Oh yeah. So we started, but I like that, Paul. I like that.
I thought he was referring to one of my games then.
No.
Yeah.
No, I like that. Yeah.
Mud or bird poo, it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thanks very much, Paul. Just very, very quickly as well, one thing we haven't mentioned, I think we should have done really at the start of the programme, but it is what it is. Fair play and well done, no matter what happened to the Lionesses, because they was very unfortunate, I thought. There's a few Paul might have a different opinion. I thought there was a few calls in the game. I thought the Spanish may have conned the referee a little bit, but that's just my personal opinion.
Got outplayed, didn't they, to be fair?
Yeah, I thought we had a game, obviously, and one of the guys that were watching on their phone now and then, but as Paul said, what I heard, they were outplayed,
Definitely.
So well done anyway, girls, and hopefully next time, you win the final.
Definitely. Okay, well, thank you very much, Paul. Martin, it's been an absolute pleasure as per usual. We had loads of messages. Where's the curtains? They'll be back soon. Definitely.
It's been an absolute pleasure, gents. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. For all the listeners and the viewers, for their benefit, we will be back next week from 7. Pete will be back. Guest to be confirmed. We'll be back next week. But for now, good night.